Hi, this is Mike Ross, public address announcer for your Toronto Maple Leafs, and this is the Leafs Late Night Podcast, your post-game destination. And now, your starting lineup: Roscoe, the Fanalist, Southey, Biener, and Darty Brodeur on the Leafs Late Night Podcast.
Can you guys hear that, or is it just me? Just making sure.
No, I can hear it.
Okay. Because there definitely have been some times where only I hear it. Anyway, welcome back. Welcome back to Leafs Late Night. It's been a bit of a break. I apologize. But I have some news. I got engaged last weekend. So thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it. So I was not watching a lot of preseason as, doing other things like planning and visiting family and such. So I'm back now and happy to talk about Leafs as we are the week of the first games. It's so exciting. Hockey is back for real. And we also have a friend joining us today. Chris Hurley, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic, and congratulations on that big achievement.
Oh, thank you so much. Biener, I see it seems like you are finally back at home broadcasting from the basement again for a change, which must be nice.
I am. Yeah, I just got back from a week in Myrtle Beach for training, so there's definitely worse places to go for training, but it is 1,000,000% better to be back at home.
Hell yeah. So I guess there's a couple little Leafs news things we should touch on before we get into our main portion of the show, which is the season previews. But we found out today that Jake Muzzin and Curtis McElhinney have both been moved over to the staff side. So Jake Muzzin, I guess, retiring, which is good, I think, for his long-term health and his body because, we've talked about it over the years of the show that it's important for him to be able to, walk and function for the rest of his life. And I don't think playing hockey was on the table again. So I'm happy that the Leafs were able to find a position for him. I guess he's a pro scout. So good for Jake and good for MLSE.
Yeah, and he always had a very good pulse on the room, right? Like he had a very good connection with a lot of the younger guys from when he got traded there. So I think it's good to keep him around for that kind of thing. So as of today, Muzzin, obviously Matt Murray with his surgery, both placed on long-term injured reserve. Also Connor Timmins placed on LTIR as well.
Missed that one. Oh, and back up. So does this mean that Muzzin is on LTIR and working for the team at the same time?
Yes.
I didn't catch that. I thought he retired. Okay.
It's very like Pronger-esque. I think he was still on LTIR when he started then working on in the front office.
Oh man. Okay. Well, I missed that detail. Interesting. So McElhinney is obviously not hurt and joining coaching of goalies, which is cool. So I mean,
yeah, he's definitely been around the league. He knows what it takes to be an everyday NHLer. Like he was never a superstar, but he knows everything else about the game besides being a superstar. So yeah. He was definitely a very valuable goalie to a lot of teams over the course of his career.
Yeah, I mean, he played everywhere, right? But just one thing back to Muzzin too. I guess losing Spezza in the offseason, it's nice to have like another veteran leader like still around the team, like somebody that everybody liked. Like you mentioned, that was a good presence in the dressing room. So yeah.
Well, and if I'm not mistaken,
did we lose Curtis Sanford in the sense as well?
Maybe
we might have. I haven't heard his name in a while. But like if I'm not mistaken, McElhinney was the backup for Matthews and Marner's rookie year, was he not?
I was trying to remember when he played for the Leafs, but you might be right.
I think he was. Yeah, I'm sorry. I should know this stuff. It's been a summer of trying to focus on family, so I'm a little rusty.
He would have been around obviously, we sacrificed him for Garrett Sparks, and we know how that turned out. So I'm pretty sure that was around that same time.
Oh,
yeah,
geez,
16, 17, 17, 18.
Wow. Good call. Other Leafs news, we got Nicky Bobby getting sent down to the Marlies while Fraser Minton's making the opening lineup. A lot of people said they saw this coming. It was nice to see, Fraser Minton being a little breakout star, but I mean, it hurts. Robertson's had a really tough couple of years, stunted by, like what was it, mono and a broken leg, and then there was COVID. It's just the guy's not had a good full season. So it's really rough to see that, other people are going to start surpassing him, and maybe it's going to be the end of the road soon.
Well, I don't know if I would go as far as to say the end of the road. He showed a lot of promise this preseason. That's what you want to see from a guy in his position, because he was flying all over the ice. He was very dangerous offensively. But it might just be the fact that they want him to try to have a full season. And if you're going to have a full season, the type of player that he is, get him top 6 minutes down on the Marlies rather than bottom 6 minutes with the Leafs, right?
Yeah, I just think that with these other guys, obviously, I don't think Minton's going to be a full-time guy. They're probably going to want to put these, him and Cowan in the same positions. I think what we're getting to, but I mean, I guess by the end of the road is maybe the end of the Leafs time with him. I think they might look at moving on from him with all these other prospects starting to maybe take the spot where they thought he'd be.
I wonder if it's because with Minton, you have the 9 games where you can try him out before you can send him back. There's been a lot of talk, I know, in TSN where they're talking about him really just dominating juniors, getting a crack at Team Canada World Junior. So I wonder if that's still on the table, and it's more so let's get him 9 games, let's get Robertson 9 games, and let's maybe then on the flip side go back to putting Nylander back to center and bringing Robertson back up.
It's not a bad theory either.
Yeah, and so there is that chance that they're going to give Minton and Cowan both 9 games. Have I missed something? Is Cowan still in camp?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything on Easton Cowan.
I've looked at all the transaction pages that I can see, and I have not seen them send him down. He wasn't at the game that Patrick and I were at before I went away to training, so I know he was still in camp then.
From Kyle Cushman 9 hours ago, for the time being, Fraser Minton, Easton Cowan, and Mikko Kokkonen remain on the Maple Leafs roster. Still cuts to come. Well,
today they sent Kokkonen down.
It says, from Cap Friendly an hour ago, it would appear that McCann and Cowan are on the Leafs roster for now. All other players who were in camp have been assigned to the minors, and Timmins was placed on IR. This left Toronto $11.4 million above the cap. Okay.
So, you could reward Cowan for having a great camp, give him 4, 5, 6, hell, you can even give him the 9 games, and then send him down, because I think the plan for him is to, like you were saying, Chris, just to dominate junior. He can go back and he can be a part of that London team, and you saw with how the Hunters were using him towards the end of last season, they have a lot of faith in him. So it's not like they think he's just, a plug. They're going to give him the type of minutes that the Leafs want him to get. So he can go down there, he can rule the roost, kind of give him a couple NHL games to say, thanks for, doing what we were supposed to do in the offseason, for putting on a good show in the preseason, and we'll see you next year.
Fair. Okay, last thing we got to touch on with the Leafs before we go to the next is Sam Lafferty goes to the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for a 5th-round pick. A lot of people saying this not great because of what they gave up to get him and McCabe. But, I mean, obviously there's salary retention involved and a whole bunch of other things. But, yeah, it feels like we got less than he was worth. But, I mean, the Leafs aren't exactly in a position to get value for anybody, being, like I said, $11.4 million over the cap. So, I mean, you get what you can get. Lafferty was a good fast piece, but I think we've got a lot of, like we've been talking about, all these kids that are coming up that can replace him. And, I mean, he's 28, so I think thanks for your service. But like Ilya Mikheyev, have fun in Vancouver.
Yeah, I was a little shocked when I saw it at first, because his speed is definitely a valuable asset, especially in the bottom half of the lineup, to have someone that's that fast. But it's almost like the Kapanen factor. Like, he has all that speed, but he doesn't, like, it's like his brain can't keep up with it. He doesn't know what to do when he gets there.
Well, yeah, and like Mikheyev too. They're fast, but they can't finish. So,
yeah, like,
you know.
At least with Lafferty, he did play the physical edge a little bit more than Kapanen and Mikheyev did. But
for sure,
at this point in time, I definitely do not mind, you know, giving that extra chance to McCann or Robinson, Minton, whoever, over Lafferty, because unfortunately those type of players are the type of players that you can easily go and get if you need it.
Exactly. Hell, even Nyes we haven't mentioned.
Yeah, I think it's got to play a factor into too is having some guys that are waiver exempt on this roster that, you know, if we do need to maneuver pieces around throughout the season, you know, we do have the younger guys who can go up and down, and it just creates a little more flexibility in terms of the roster where, as we've seen in previous years, we're kind of stuck with what we're stuck with, and there's not much we can do about it throughout the year.
Yeah, and I mean, really, what was I going to say? I had a thought, and it just disappeared like poof out of my head. It'll come back to me. Oh, shit. Anyway. Oh, yeah, the waiver thing. So it would be, we're probably going to lose Lafferty to waivers anyway, so getting a 5th-round pick back for him is better than just losing him to nothing, like we're probably going to lose Martin Jones for. So, I mean, if somebody wants him... He cleared? Oh.
Yep.
Shit, I missed that. Well, I thought he'd go to Tampa or something.
I don't know if it was maybe just the fact that it was Dubas doing it. Like, we'll have to see if he puts anybody on waivers with the Penguins. But this is a sign that things are changing. The Leafs,
yeah, like how does Martin Jones
clear someone?
How does Martin Jones clear waivers? But what's his name last year? The fucking
Harry Satera.
Harry Sateri doesn't. Like, this must be a Dubas thing. There's no way. Like, this doesn't make sense. We've been living in a world where absolutely nobody clears waivers just because. And now Martin Jones goes down. Okay, whatever.
The old boys club heard Dubas say we can and we will, and decided, you know what? That little fucker, we're not going to let him waive anybody.
Oh, fuck.
Who's this 30-year-old nerd coming in here telling us how to do it? You know what? Let's band together and let's give this guy a piece of our medicine.
We don't even want that player, but we're going to claim him.
Yeah. They're not going to play.
That's why I don't get this. Like, it seems like there's a lot of teams that could use Martin Jones. Like, there's a ton of teams that are not in super solid goaltending positions. So I don't know, man. Thanks, I guess. Let's go to it. So the Pacific Division. We'll start with the winners, the Vegas Golden Knights. There's not really any changes to this team. They're kind of running back the victory squad, if I'm not mistaken, and let's see what they can do. I don't know what else to say about this team.
They lost Kessel. They lost Smith. Now Smith was a
Riley
factor,
Smith. Yeah, that was the one. I knew there was something I was forgetting, but yeah.
Full year of Barbashev, though, will be good.
Absolutely. I was going to mention that. He was an under the radar pickup for them, definitely. It'll be interesting to see if you ever hear anything from Robin Lehner again. Because technically he's still on that team. Is Aiden Hill going to be able to be a full-time goalie now that he led them to the promised land? Or is Logan Thompson going to come back in? Like, Thompson was an all-star, played great, and then got hurt. They did have Laurent Brossoit as well, but now he's back in Winnipeg.
Yeah, and you've got Logan Thompson on $766K, and I mean they paid Aiden Hill, so he's making almost $5 million. But that's why I think it's interesting that somebody like Martin Jones clears, because this is not a super solid tested goaltending thing. They got lucky twice, and here they are. Kind of feels like where the Leafs are at, which is why they have Martin Jones. Anyway, Pietrangelo and Shea Theodore are still on the back end. Like, it's gonna be a good team. Like, they're gonna be good. I don't know if they'll be as uncontested. What did they only win by? What was the point difference here? They won by 2 points over Edmonton. I think that might be a little tighter between them and LA, just with the additions on LA side. But I don't know. I think Vegas is still going to do well.
Yeah, I still have Vegas leading the Pacific, I think, going into next year.
So what I want to do with all these teams, though, is link it back to the Leafs somehow and what we should watch for in the 2 games that they'll play against Vegas this year. So, I mean, it's not like there's really any, Michael Amadio, Ben Hutton.
I would more so say, like, because you had those 2 years in a row, you had McDavid and Eichel, and then you had Matthews. So is Eichel now the better young U.S. centerman? He's won a cup.
Interesting. Yep.
So that's how I would look at it. Like, obviously you have the Amadio thing. You could poke fun at that, but realistically, that's probably the way I'd lean. Because now everybody always said, McDavid's better than Eichel, Matthews is better than Eichel, because Eichel never even made a playoff series. Well, then now he goes to the Knights and they win the damn cup.
That's a good point. I like that one.
I wonder if looking at that game is we've quote-unquote have added snot to our lineup to be more prepared for the playoffs, and the Golden Knights, current Stanley Cup champions, do it better than nobody else. So I think that's a good measuring stick in terms of, how can our stunt and this toughness that we added and puck moving on the back end with Klingberg, how does it stack up to, the defending Stanley Cup team?
Yeah, exactly. I think at the end of the day, the biggest thing to take away from it is how do we stack up against the Stanley Cup champs, right? Like on every level, like you said, it's going to be the measuring stick. So nothing else there. I think let's move on because I don't want to spend too much time on the West because we only got a couple of games against everybody. It's just the way it is. We're a Leaf show. Okay, next up, Edmonton Oilers. Same deal. It's going to be, who's better between Connor and Leon and Matthews and Marner. We get the return of Zach Hyman. Always. Connor Brown.
Roscoe. I think
Cody
you said the
Ceci.
name wrong. It's the Edmonton Maple Leafs.
The Edmonton Maple Leafs. Yeah, I'm going down this list. It's insane. Cody. Jack Campbell. But I totally forgot Tyson Barrie's not there anymore.
No, he's in Nashville now.
He is. Well, that's the only significant change I'd say is here. We got Matthias Ekholm coming in. That's going to be pretty tough, I think.
Having a full season of Ekholm, I think, is going to do wonders for the Oilers. I think you might see a little bit of a bounce back with Campbell because I know it's only one guy, but having a large minute munching defenseman, like he's going to eat up a lot of those hard minutes on the back end because that's what he's always done and he's been consistent. So that's the type of defenseman that everybody's been saying the Leafs have needed forever.
Yeah.
So if Stuart Skinner keeps progressing the way he has, and if Campbell can have a little bit of a bounce back, I think that they have a very good chance of challenging Vegas for first in the division. And unfortunately, it's about, like you said, about the same narrative, in my mind anyways, between the Leafs and the Oilers, that, McDavid, Draisaitl, Matthews, like obviously McDavid's on a tier of his own, but a couple years ago, there was no question Matthews was above Draisaitl. A couple years before that, Draisaitl was above Matthews. Like it's that swinging pendulum, right?
Yeah, that matchup this year is going to be really the Battle of Ontario, or Battle of Canada in terms of really who's going to come out in terms of, that could be a Stanley Cup final matchup right there. In terms of the teams. I'm curious to see as to how it kind of seems like throughout the offseason, you could see McDavid talk in interviews that he needs to take his game to not only just another level, but on the defensive side too. And just, it's not about putting up. I think this was his hey, look, I can go and score at will. If you think you're just going to hand out the Hart Trophy to Matthews because he puts up 60 points, but he's going to turn his game around and go, look, we don't need to win 5-4. Let's win 3-1. Let's win these tighter games. Let's play stronger defensive systems. And that's what I'm interested to see Edmonton break out and take it another level in that system.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think the combination of having Darnell Nurse and Tyson Barrie is kind of like the same problem that the Leafs ran into where they were leaving their goalies hung out to dry. So I think having a more solid defense behind what is obviously a powerhouse offense, it's going to be a really dangerous Oilers team for a change instead of just McDavid feeling like he's scoring, like you said, a 7-5 game just because they have to. So I'm looking forward to it.
not to mention you have another full season of Bouchard being in the NHL. Like, I saw him play a couple times for London when he was in the OHL. That kid's an incredible young defenseman. Like, it really annoys me that he went to Edmonton because I don't want to see Edmonton do super well. But yeah, having him have that extra year under his belt, I think that'll go a long way as well.
Okay, so next up we've got the LA Kings, who I think are going to be a challenge to both the Vegas Golden Knights and the Edmonton Oilers for first place here. It's going to be so tight. With the addition of Pierre-Luc Dubois, their centers are just stacked. And of course, the Leafs, there's always somebody on every team. We got the Trevor Moore thing, which just comes and bites us in the ass, I swear, every time we play them.
Trevor Moore, Carl Grundstrom.
Oh yeah, Grundstrom too. At least Durzee's not there anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
That one was horrible every time we play them.
But that, like,
Pardon
one
me,
big
I'm
thing.
cold here.
I guess technically you have David Riddick as well.
Oh my God, Big Save Dave is there. Holy, he is.
No Save Dave for the last couple of years.
Yeah. Sorry, their goaltending lineup is Phoenix Copley, Cam Talbot, and Dave Riddick. Okay, I take it back. They have some issues back there.
That's what I was just going to get at. The media loves to poke fun at the Leafs and, Samsonov's not proven, Joseph Woll's not proven, but neither is Phoenix Copley and Cam Talbot.
Yeah, Cam Talbot, who spent all of last year injured.
That's part of being in Ottawa. Surprised you're not injured all the time.
I don't get it. Every goalie that goes to Ottawa just like falls apart. I don't get it.
You guys even had Dominic Hasek and he got hurt.
Every goalie in Ottawa falls apart. I don't get it.
They should probably stop trading away goalies.
This is true. Philip Gustafson,
Robin Leonard,
Ben Bishop.
Oh my God!
Leonard.
Yeah. I forgot they had Gustafson too.
What was I saying? Like, even Cam Talbot, when he was in Minnesota, they had so little faith in him. They went out and got Fleury.
He's 36.
Right.
Holy shit! Like, I didn't realize Talbot was that old already.
He's a good, serviceable defense or goalie, but he's not. I haven't seen anything from him in the past 4 years that has said he's a top of the line starting goaltender for a team that seriously thinks that they're contenders.
I mean, the last one I would say, his run from 19 to 22 here with the Flames and the Wild, played 10 playoff games with the Flames with a 242 and 924. So, I mean, he was at least good in the playoffs there. And the next year with the Wild, he played 7 playoff games with a 245 and a 923. So it was good until the next year with the Wild, I guess. Shit the bed. So,
Still gotta get there, though.
Yeah, you got to get there. But, I mean, at least he's proven that in the playoffs he is pretty good. Otherwise, yeah, he's old. So, no telling that he could do it this year. I don't know. It's like, I'm not convinced that between him and... I didn't realize Dave Riddick's only 31. I thought this guy was like 40 years old. Like, anytime these goalies have been on every single team, I figure it's like they're at the end of their career, not in the middle of it.
But like LA's in a weird situation. They've got some good young defensemen, Mikey Anderson, Tobias Bjornfoot, Brant Clark looks like he's going to be a stud. You still have Doughty kicking around. They signed They got Gavrikov from Columbus last year and extended him. So they do have a half decent D-core. You've still got Kopitar, who is maybe one of the most underrated centers of the last 10 years. Like, I don't think that's a stretch to say that. Defensively, the guy's been incredible.
Yeah. And I mean, he just signed for a $3 million less deal for them. So that's nice.
Yeah. They added Dubois. So you have Kopitar, Dubois, Deneau as your top 3 centers. And even if you want to put Deneau on 4th and have Byfield in there, if he can actually do what he's supposed to. Like, they do have some good young talent mixed in with some guys who've been around. So they're a dangerous team.
Yeah, and the other thing is they got a lot younger this year. They were a team that over the last few years had, been swaying to the older side, and that was kind of their trouble. But Kopitar at 36 is really the oldest one, and then it kind of skips down to 30 before, anybody else is there. So I think they've done a good job of getting faster and younger.
Doughty as well.
And Trevor Lewis. Yeah, but I mean, Dota's only 33. So
That's ancient.
Yeah, not for defensemen. Anyway, moving on. Let's go to Seattle. So the Kraken had a pretty good year last year with former Leaf Jared McCann. And I don't know. What do we think about how they're going to do this year?
They've had a lot. You want to take this one first, Chris?
Yeah, they've lost a lot of players. I'm just looking over their list. They lost, if you listen to Jeff Merrick, Daniel Sprong, an absolute legend. I think Carson Soucy on the back end. Martin Jones, who kind of anchored them to some wins, and really all they brought in was Kyler Yamamoto and Pierre-Edouard Bellemare. And I just don't see them. I don't see them progressing in a forward progression. I think Beniers will take a step. In terms of how this links up with the Leafs, the McCann Bowl, I guess. What that horror of a trade, I guess, in hindsight, but it's I don't think it looks good for them personally.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be able to maintain what they did last year. I think they kind of got lucky with a lot of guys having really good offensive seasons that weren't really supposed to. So I don't know. I'm not saying Jared McCann's not going to score, 40 goals again, but yeah, we'll see.
I think realistically,
literally 40 goals. Jesus.
You have to just hope that a couple of young kids, like if McCann can even do a little bit less than what he did last year, I think that'll be golden because nobody expect him to come in and get 40.
No.
Like Ty Cartiers looks like he's going to be a good young player for them. Came in towards the end of the season. Matty Beniers needs to, keep progressing. Bellemare is a sneaky addition because he's one of those players I always hated playing against when he was on Tampa because he doesn't do anything spectacularly, but he does everything right.
That's fair.
And then Eli Tolvanen, like the fact that they got him for nothing from Nashville. Like
waiver
this kid
claim,
is,
yeah,
he's supposed to be a sniper. So a full season with the Kraken, maybe get some chemistry with some of the other kids like Tolvanen, Carte, and Beniers. That would be a deadly line.
What's crazy, I'm looking at, they still have 9 guys from their expansion on the team, which is drastically different than what Vegas did, where by the time they hit the ice, I don't think there was anybody left from their expansion draft.
Yeah. And then, if I'm not mistaken, I think Joey Decord was injured before the start of last season, was he not?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, he just resigned for 2 years with 1.2 with them as well.
Yeah, so, I know he's a backup, but even though Jones was getting wins, I don't think his numbers were that great last year.
No, I think he was, if I remember correctly, high 2s, and it was low 9s, or actually just even below 9.
Wasn't but stellar. They were still getting wins, so no one was really complaining, right? So if you have Grubauer go at least even somewhat to what he's supposed to be, Decord's healthy, give a 60-40 split, just over 50-50, and I think that they maybe not do exactly what they did last year, but I think they'll still be respectable and probably, I'd say they're making playoffs.
I mean, they have to beat Calgary, Vancouver, San Jose, and Anaheim, so it's not like it's a tough road for them, but I do think Calgary and Vancouver are going to be a little tougher than they were last year. So that's, I think, the only challenge for the Kraken. Anyway, let's go on to Calgary. So a new coach and some, I guess, a fresh start for some newer faces there. So do we think that Huberdeau is going to turn it around?
I think he can. I think he has that in his repertoire. I think unleashing him a little bit, when you hear back to what Daryl Sutter was doing in terms of never even practicing power play in a sense, and certain decisions where it's hey, we're gonna send out Nick Ritchie to go take a penalty shot goal or a
shootout.
Yeah, a shootout, and it's just what
season on the line.
Yeah, what decisions are we making here? It's oh, but he's a good working kid. No, he's not a stone hand.
He was working real hard in the practices, and I wanted to give him, a chance to show the team what he's got there, and sometimes things don't work out.
That's a great impression.
Thank you.
But like, it's nice to see some of these dinosaurs leave, and I think players overall will be happier. It'll be interesting to see how some of these guys let loose a little bit more, and to see what potential we can get out of some of these, how they can get potential out of some of those other guys that they've spent a lot of money signing, Huberdeau and Kadri. I think Kadri had a down year comparison to what he was coming off of, obviously, with Colorado. So,
yeah, and Michael Backlund taking a bit of a pay cut to stick around too helps the team out a bit. One of those things that everybody says Leafs should do. I don't know, nice to see that some people do
it. Another player that a lot of people don't realize wasn't even there last year was Oliver Kylington. Like, he is a good young defenseman, and he took a year away for, I don't know if it's personal reasons or family issues or something. He went back over to Sweden to be with his family. So there was some stuff he had to get sorted out, and he's back. Like, that is a big piece on their blue line from the year prior.
So he's on LTIR.
Maybe he got hurt during the preseason, but he is back over this year.
Gotcha.
But so if he can be healthy, like the kind of onto the Babcock situation, and I'm not going to get too deep into that, but some of the things that Sutter does is just a cancer to the team. Like, wasn't it late in the season last year, Jacob Pelletier came up and played a great game for the Flames, and the reporters asked Sutter about it afterwards, and he's like, who? Like, if you're a veteran on that team, that's got to be so demoralizing to see your coach just completely embarrass this young kid who came up and is busting his balls to try to make the team. Like, little things like that can just be a complete killer in the room. You have Matt Coronado, looks like he's going to be making the team. Jacob Pelletier, like, you do have some young kids, and then you have, Kadri hoping to make an impression and have a good season to warrant his contract that he signed. Huberdeau, I cannot see him not bouncing back.
Yeah, the guy broke records with Florida. I think it only makes sense that he rebounds with a new coach there. But just an update on the Kylington thing. This is from 4 hours ago. Oliver Kylington personal was placed on LTIR on Monday. He missed the entirety of training camp, and it is unclear when he will be available to return. So he has not come back.
The story was that he had come back, so that's not good to hear. Hopefully, whatever it is gets sorted and he can come back.
That's rough. Okay, so San Jose Sharks. Chris, you want to start this one?
San Jose Sharks, I have, honestly, bottoming out. There's nothing interesting about this team whatsoever. I think Carlson's gone. Burns is gone, obviously 2 years ago now. I feel sorry for Logan Couture, who's just over there on an island by himself.
On LTIR, apparently, too.
Oh, great. Even better.
This is what I'm finding out. This is why we do these, because we learn things in the moment. Also, did we touch on what are we looking for from Calgary and the Leafs this year? I guess the return of Kadri.
Yeah,
that's about all they've got.
Logan Couture lower body was placed on non-rostered injured reserve, given week-to-week tag earlier in the offseason. Oof, was injured before training camp. Whoa, that's rough. Yeah, they're not going to have a good year. So on LTIR, they've got him, Radim Simic, Jacob McDonald, season opening injured reserve, Mitchell Russell, and Nikita Okotiuk, and buried Oscar Lindblom. It's just like dead cap, Brent Burns, Eric Carlson, buyout Jones. Like, this team's a disaster of money.
Yeah, they've got some young kids that are supposed to be decent prospects. That it's looking like have potentially made the team at a camp. Excuse me, but there's not many storylines with this team this year.
No, they've got $2 million in cap space somehow, even though they've got Mark Edward Vlasic for $7 million for another 3 years. That's insane.
I'm looking at their page right now, and it is depressing this year.
Yeah, like you look at the money they're spending. They got $37 million on forwards, $18 million on defensemen, and $5 million on goalies, and they somehow have no cap space left. Like,
it makes you wonder if Thomas Hurdle's regretting re-signing that contract.
Oh my God, yeah, I'm looking at. He's there till the end of 2030 unless he asks for a. He's got a no move. 25, 26 to 27, 28. 3-team trade list. Interesting. I wonder what 3 teams he would go to.
More like what 3 teams could actually afford him. But like Willie Mecklin, he was their high-end draft pick from a couple years ago. If he can make the team and make an impact, that might be a little bit of a bright spot. I'm just trying to go through the names here. Philip Sedina, that was the player. It'll be interesting to see if he can do something, right? Like when he was drafted, he was chirping, saying that all the teams that passed him, he's going to fill their net. Clearly, it never happened with Detroit. But the fact that a player that young is willing to mutually terminate his contract and bet on himself to go sign somewhere else, like that's saying something.
All we can hope for is they win more than 8 home games like they did last year, because that is fucking embarrassing, man. That's so bad. Like, what are your season ticket holders are rioting at that point? 8 for what's that? 8 out of 41 at home. They went 8, 22, and 11. Can you imagine watching 11 overtime losses at home? Oh,
they do have one of the best names in the league on the team.
Who dis?
Shakir Mukhamadullin.
Oh, cool.
And also one of their goalies, Itu Makiniemi.
Nice. That's definitely Finnish.
Yes.
Nice.
But then they've also got Capo Kakinen still, and they signed Mackenzie Blackwood. So,
I honestly don't want to waste any more time on San Jose Sharks. Okay, Vancouver.
But with the Leafs, it'll be the Barabanov Bowl.
Oh, yeah, Barabanov always. So obviously the big news out of Vancouver is that they finally named a captain, but it was not Elias Pettersson. It's Quinn Hughes. Awkward. Awkward? I think that's awkward.
Yes and no. I think Hughes is probably the better choice. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but Pettersson to me doesn't seem like the type of player who even wants the responsibility of being a captain. Like, some players just don't want it, right?
Actually, yeah, he's also an RFA at the end of this year, so I don't think you want to give the seat to somebody and then immediately go to negotiation with them.
Yeah, I think...
well, I'm the captain, so you're going to pay me more for that.
The thing, too, is while we see, like, hey, this player's the best player, you know, who talks in the locker room? Who's leading the guys day in and day out? And that's what we don't see. So I'm sure them selecting Hughes, obviously 23-year-old, probably not a bad pick at the end of the day. And obviously with them not having Elias Pettersson locked up for long term, it kind of makes sense. I'm wondering, you know, what's the play in terms of Leafs captaincy? If we're talking about captaincy in terms of when does that handoff happen? Because I think we all know which way it should go at this point in time.
Yeah. It's just, I feel like am I wrong that if we start that, they're going to bring up the reason that he wasn't in the first place again, and we're going to have to go through that whole thing?
Probably.
Like, as soon as anyone starts talking about it, they go, well, there was that time. And then I don't know if that'll be good for Matthews. And I feel like they might be trying to protect him from that. I don't know. That's tough. I don't know, man. Mikheyev's hurt, or I would say it's the Mikheyev Bowl. I don't know. What do we got for Vancouver?
Not really a whole ton.
There's nothing, man. It's like
don't
I never
give up.
care
don't
about
give up
our
like
games.
3 shorthanded goals and lose the game. Bowl?
Oh, guys, what am I talking about? Sam Lafferty.
Oh yeah, the bald head bowl.
Who frees up number 28 that everybody thinks should go to Domi, which I agree with.
100% it should. 100%.
You have Dakota Joshua, who was a Leafs draft pick, who's on the Canucks back in 2014.
Okay.
Like we're stretching a little bit here.
Okay, so last one here, the Anaheim Ducks. I mean, they got a lot of draft picks this year. They got a first, 2 seconds, 3 thirds, and all the rest of them. So, I don't know, man. Leo Carlson, Mason McTavish, that'll be fun. They got some fun young kids. I don't know, man. This team's not good though.
I have them finishing actually above the Sharks.
They should.
They should fall backwards into that realistically. But I think that with them, you're going to have a lot of young talent there. Troy Terry, I would like to see him get back to where he was. I kind of want the Leafs to trade for him, if I'm being honest. But other than just seeing some good young talent and some exciting hockey, maybe some more Michigan's flip over the Nets, anything in that nature. Other than that, there's, yet again, they're fighting for draft picks.
You know
what
I'm looking forward to for Leafs Ducks?
What's that?
Reeves beating the shit out of Radko Gudas.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, baby, yes. There is something there.
Do you think it happens, though?
They were minus 129 goal differential last year. Holy shit. They would have beat San Jose, but it was all the overtime losses that San Jose had. They ended up having more points.
Do you think they actually will fight? For being honest,
Reeves is kind of the cocky person that I think he would like. He was asked and he mentioned it, like he brought the scenario up.
I feel like he might just because he feels like that's why he was brought in here specifically. Like that was one of the things on like at the top of the checklist is get revenge for this. It's like, well, we only got 2 games against him. We're not going to face him in the playoffs. Why the fuck not? Let's go.
Yeah.
Also, we're going to hear another season of where is John Gibson getting traded? Oh, well, he gets hung out to dry again. Oh, well.
Definitely hung out to dry.
I guess that finishes off that the Pacific Division. Do we think what are the changes going to be here? I mean, we've talked the top 3 are obviously the Golden Knights, the Oilers, and the Kings. Any shifting there?
I
think Calgary sneaks in.
I agree with that. Yeah, that's what I had too. Is Calgary leapfrogs the Kraken, and then it goes kind of Canucks, Ducks, Sharks.
Yep, I agree. Vegas, Edmonton, LA probably stays about the same. Maybe Edmonton comes in first. It's pretty much a toss up. I don't think LA is going to beat either of them though. Yeah, Calgary probably makes that last one. Agreed. Okay. We should go through the Central a little quicker because I didn't think we. Oh my gosh, it's already. Yeah, we're going. Okay, so Colorado. Any changes and any Leaf storylines? Oh, Jonathan Drouin's on Colorado now. Man, this guy just fucking hops around the league.
900K.
Thomas Tatar.
Part of me thinks Drouin might actually be a decent sleeper this season.
He's already 28. My God.
Him and McKinnon were gold in the juniors together.
Yeah, could be. I didn't know they played together. Forgot about that.
Yeah, for the Halifax Mooseheads.
There you go. So yeah, I mean, wasn't Bowen Byram hurt last year?
Yeah, he battled injuries. They got Ryan Johansson in from Nashville. Drouin. They picked up Ross Colton from the Lightning.
Miles Wood, Thomas Tatar, round out the bottom 6.
Wow, they made a lot of changes here.
Yeah.
Holy shit, they're going to be good.
Makar had a lot of injury problems last year as well. So even if you get health out of Makar, health out of Byram, health out of Taves, I think that they're going to do just as well, if not slightly better.
Is there any word on any news on Landeskog?
I don't think he's going to play. Yeah, done for the season. Yeah, that's what I heard too. That's a shame because didn't he just re-sign with them?
Yep.
Fuck yeah, till the end of 29. Oh my God, poor guy. Well, anything with the Leafs here? Just best on best, like McKinnon and Matthews. I think that's really it. There's
pretty much.
No ex-Leafs on this one.
Yeah, nothing. I'm even trying to pull the Biener and see who they got in the minor system to see.
Okay, the Dallas Stars. Sagan, Ben, Hintz, Robertson, and Mason Marchment, Mr. Ex-Leaf that everyone thinks we should have kept. So that's always the fun one to play against because he's really good. Except last year he was meh, but still pretty good.
It was mid beyond
Goaltending's
belief.
right there. Did you say he's mid beyond belief?
Yeah, last year he was.
Yeah.
I'm in fantasy. I had to drop him really early on.
Same. That's why I'm remembering he was meh last year. I was like, wait a sec. Yeah. Other than that, there's nothing interesting here. Oh shit! I dropped a thing on my guitar. Sorry.
So wasn't it last year against the Stars that it was the battle of the Robertson brothers where Nicky Bobby had an amazing game?
Yep.
Hopefully we can turn that into
Hopefully.
a storyline. Maybe Cowan plays a couple games, gets sent down, and Nicky Bobby comes up. They're a good team. They're a legitimate contender.
Oh yeah, they are.
Wyatt Johnson, Ty Dellandrea, obviously Robertson, Pavelski, all the big boys you named. Like, there's not a lot of holes in this team. And then you have arguably one of the best, if not the best, goaltenders in the league. That's, well, definitely the best that's not Russian.
Yeah. And best that's healthy, probably.
Valid point.
Yeah, they also added Matt Duchene in the offseason, right?
Oh shit,
Yep.
true. It's gonna be a dangerous team, man. I mean, they got to go up against Colorado. They're loading up. Next one, also dangerous team, the Minnesota Wild. Rocking Philip Gustafson in net with Marc-Andre Fleury backing him up. It's a good tandem. You know, I'd love to see Kirill Kaprizov just absolutely explode this year because I've got him in a lot of my fantasy teams. But otherwise, I don't see any ex-Leafs on here. Am I wrong?
They definitely don't have any studs defenseman wise. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through the team here.
No, I mean Jared Spurgeon, who's been there forever. Jacob Middleton.
Yeah. Like Kalen Addison's young. He's supposed to turn out to be a good player. But there's definitely some questions defenseman wise. But they have been a solid team for a handful of years now, and they've been pretty successful with, if they lose a guy, they have a prospect or they're able to find someone that they can plug in. Like, who would have thought Zuccarello would have came there and done as well as he did?
Oh, he's been fantastic. And again, somebody who's taken a pay cut to stick around for another 2 years.
They got Darty's boy, Fat Pat.
Yeah, Patty Maroon. Love to see that one.
So maybe it's that. We don't have Shen anymore, but the Leafs have always loved getting at it with Maroon. Or you could have the fact that Marc-Andre Fleury gave Keefe his job, so there's that as well.
Yeah. And I mean, also of note, this is one of the 2 years where they're taking a $14.7 million cap hit for Parise and Suter. So it makes sense that there's some holes on defense here and they're not completely shored up. But like, look, they've got the guys, you know, that have been there: Kaprizov, Boldy, Zuccarello. Eriksson Ek is consistent. Like, I think they'll make it up, but it's still going to be a tough year where they're kind of handicapped by their own insane contracts. Okay. The Winnipeg Jets, who just re-signed Connor Hellebuck and Mark Scheifele today to identical 7 times 8.5 deals. What do we think of that?
Okay. Scheifele's not worth that anymore whatsoever. I saw that today and I was like, oh, they locked him up. So, okay, that's great. And then I saw it was 8.5 and my jaw hit the floor.
They are both 30 years old.
Like, that is astonishing. The fact, like, Hellebuck can still hold it and probably regretting that contract 4 to 5 years down the road. But Mark Scheifele, I don't know, that guy just plays less and less defense every year. Not to mention they've also lost everybody else. So it's just...
And you think he's going to play more defense when he's 37 years old?
Yeah,
like,
guy's just going to stand at the blue line and just wait for pucks.
38, sorry, because it kicks in next year. Both these guys will be 38, making $8.5 million.
That's painful.
That's going to be a shitty buyout.
Sounds like...
Unfortunately, it's basically the stay in Winterpeg contract, right? Like
that's pretty much it.
But like, even if you wanted to say you talk to Hellebuck and you're like, hey, if we want to trade you, we got to get you on like an attractive deal to move at least. Like, you can't even get him out on that. Like, everybody was talking about where's Hellebuck going to go if they can't re-sign him. Like, on this deal, he's fucked. Like, he's going to waste away no matter what Winnipeg does. He's stuck there.
See, honestly, I could see a team biting on Hellebuck at 8.5.
For that long? Because like what you're taking
the rumors
on,
like 9.5 to 10 is what he wanted. Isn't that
yeah,
what the rumor
for
was?
like 3 years, maybe I would do that. But the fact that it's 7 means that like at some point you're going to have to buy this thing out, or someone's going to have to, you're going to be paying somebody to take it on retained or something. Like, it's not going to be fun when he's 36, 37, 38. I mean, I could be wrong. He could hold it together that long, but fuck, like, especially Scheifele more so than Hellebuck. You're going to be stuck with this deal. Like, this is like Parise 2.0. Like, why are you paying? Oh my God, this hurts.
The majority of these managers are not going to be in the same position they're in when that contract ends.
Oh God, no.
So even if you trade for it, like, it's not a smart career decision if you want to become a general manager again in the league.
Cheveldayoff does not give a shit about that anymore.
Well, no, right? Like, so you kind of had to do it because you're not going to get someone worthwhile to replace either of them. The team thinks they're still a playoff team anyways. I'm not going to say they think they're a contender, but they think they're a playoff team. And if you're going to give up on your number one center and your star goalie, then that's going to just send a ripple effect down your entire team that, no, we're rebuilding.
I feel like everyone thought they were going to rebuild, though.
Yeah, like, outside of those, like, okay, you have Kyle Connor, you have Mark Scheifele, you have Nikolai Zieler. It's just, like, a bunch of guys that are just essentially mid. Like, it'll be interesting to see what steps, like, Cole Perfetti takes and Gabe Velarde in their games. But, like...
Nino Niederreiter's there.
Yeah, but, like, I think, Nino Niederreiter's 31.
Oh my God, he is too.
Right? Like, there's no... Like, what does the bottom of this team look like? It's just... Vlad Domestikov, 30, right? Like, there's a lot of this... Like, you should be amply turning it over. Like, your last year of Scheifele, 6 years, trade him at the deadline, retain half, $3 million. That's it. That problem's done. Take the picks, run with it, build your team. You know, we saw them.
Yeah, I feel like they built something that just didn't work. Like, we're at the end of the road for this team, and it feels like they're doubling down and re-signing a bunch of 30-year-olds for extended deals to say, no, we can still do this. And I feel like you just got to rip the Band-Aid off and move on.
They're doing the Penguins without Crosby and Malkin and Letang and...
Exactly. And like Josh Morrissey's not going to go for a Norris season again. Like, I mean, we'll see, but him and Pionk, they're the only things holding down on the back end. Like, what do you got? Nate Schmidt, you're paying $6 million to? Like, great.
Brendan Dillon, Dylan DeMello. Like, it's all old, aging blue line.
Yeah. And they got dead cap from Blake Wheeler. Like, oh. At least they got their picks. I don't know.
Kid-wise, you have Brad Lambert from a couple years ago. He's a promising prospect. They got Kupari and Velarde in the Dubois deal. So you have them coming up. But, yeah, it's a pretty dry pipeline. Billy Hinola is supposed to have been a stud defenseman coming up through the pipeline for them for a while, but he just hasn't been able to stick. You always have Logan Stanley, right? Like, nothing's better than beating the Leafs.
Mm. Well, speaking of beating the Leafs, moving on to the Nashville Predators, we've got Ryan O'Reilly and Tyson Barrie and Luke Shen. So there's your storyline. Everybody that left us. I found it interesting that O'Reilly and Shen both went the same place. I mean, good for Shen getting, what was that, 2.75 for 3 years? Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
I still swear to God, I would have given him 8 years by $2 million.
Yeah, really. I wish they'd done everything they could to keep him around, especially now that we're looking at the defense and it's like, fuck. Someone's hurt already. My brain
talking. That's my heart talking because I love the guy.
Well, honestly, I mean, I would have given him 2.75. I think, well, maybe they couldn't. Whatever. He wanted to leave. Ryan O'Reilly got, what, 4 times, 4.5? It's not bad. They gave him the A.
The more I look over
Yeah.
their roster, the very abysmal their front end looks.
O'Reilly, Nyquist, Sissons, Glass. Whoa, yeah, it falls off real quick, eh? Ryan O'Reilly's their highest paid forward at $4.5 million.
Now,
Philip Forsberg's on IR.
yeah, he's on IR, so he's hitting down a little bit, but that's not a pretty looking, because Duchesne's gone.
Yep.
Johansson's gone. Matthias Ekholm gone.
You're basically hoping that some of these kids can fill into some of their potential. Like Luke Evangelista, good young player. Cody Glass was if I'm not mistaken, he was the Vegas Golden Knights' first ever pick. He's never really stuck in the league. Kiefer Sherwood, Sissons has bounced around for a while. Actually, he's getting up there in age. Philip Tomasino, good young player. Like, they do have some promising players, but it's not looking good.
So I was just quickly looking, based on forwards, they have 28%. So Philip Forsberg's not included in this, but 28% of their cap is allocated towards forwards. The next closest team is the Blackhawks at 46.7.
Holy.
So even if Philip Forsberg comes back, they're still under the Blackhawks in terms of what they spend on forwards.
I mean, I know they're a defensive team, but that's ridiculous.
But we say that about their forwards with Predators, but you look at their defense, Roman Josi, you have Barry, who defensively he's nothing, but offensively he is good. Alexandre Carrier has been a serviceable defenseman. Dante Fabro, Ryan McDonough, Luke Shen, like they've got a pretty decent decor, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. But, you know, not all those guys other than Tyson Barrie really are going to be scoring you a ton of goals.
Well, Yossi's a borderline 100-point defenseman.
Yeah, but, well, yeah, I guess if you're doing that, then what's Tyson Barrie doing? Like, I feel like with him, you run into the same thing that the Leafs did, unless you're putting him on PP1, like giving him all the minutes that you already give to Josi. Like, it's going to be one or the other.
Yeah.
Nashville. Okay, St. Louis Blues. They should, for the love of God, do better this year. They had a really bad season last year after a really good year where like everyone scored a ton of goals and they signed everybody because of it, and then they just went like under 500. So do we think they bounce back?
Honestly, I don't think so.
No faith in Binnington?
No, I really hope that Reeves has some little tension left towards Binnington from the Minnesota St. Louis fiasco that was going on there, because they played a lot out in the West. But like the team's been slowly losing all the valuable players that played such a big role in that Cup team, like O'Reilly, Steen, Bozak, Pietrangelo.
They're all gone.
Like they're all gone. So okay, Biehnographic is a good player. Kapanen's over there now.
Oh my God, he is. I just noticed.
Like Braden Schen's their new captain. Robert Thomas is supposed to be stepping up. Kyrou's supposed to be stepping up. They do have some players, but I don't see it. Like Perunovic has been a defensive prospect for them for a while that Blues fans have been wanting to come up, and he's just
the one guy I'm interested on is Sammy Bias and what he can do in terms of being healthy and playing a full season. He only got into 31 games last year, had 20 points. In terms of a depth, kind of probably a third line left winger. Plays a heavy game as well.
Sammy Blais, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They got him on $1 million, so it's a pretty good deal. Yeah, it seems like they're taking a chance on a couple of guys, but really Jakob Vrana's there. Wow. Yeah. I don't know. Kyrou, Thomas, and Shen, and Buchnevich, like they all had those 20-goal seasons, and you know they locked Kyrou and Thomas up for till the end of 2031 at $8 million each. So, you know, they gotta build something around these guys. Like I think we're gonna see them, if they don't start off well, they're gonna have to make some moves to build a better team here. Like I don't think they're gonna bail on this. They're gonna have to figure out how to help these two out. Like they've really doubled down on a few guys.
I was just looking.
Not that I wanna Oh, sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I was just looking, and actually, like, a lot of the guys are taking risk on. They brought on kind of late in the year. Like Jacob Vrana had 14 points in 20 games with St. Louis, 10 goals, 4 assists. So it's interesting to see. Like, I think it'd be nice to see if Binnington can figure something out, either fight, get that monkey off the back, or do what you need to do. But it's interesting because that team, like to your point at the beginning, was everybody was scoring goals and whatnot, and it's what got them their contracts. And then everybody on that team was like minus 30. If you had them in fantasy last year, it was like they would still kind of put up points, but ultimately it was like minus 30, minus 25 was those guys, Thomas and Kyrou, and it almost made them a detriment to your team in terms of the plus minus. So they have their woes, and then you look at their defense core: Justin Falk, Torrey Krug, Colton Parayko, like 3 staples on their blue line, and you kind of wonder how does this go awry with this team.
But somehow it just did. I don't understand what happened last year. Like, I don't watch a ton of their games unless they're playing the Leafs, really. So I don't know what it was. I was just, like you said, watching them in fantasy, I tried to grab Thomas and Kyrou like I had the year before, and it just was a disaster.
Well, this is where it went wrong. Jordan Binnington in 61 games was a .331 and an .894.
Whoa.
That's, do they want Eric Shalgren to go play for them? Like, probably put up better numbers at that point versus, playoff time. We're talking 32 games, 1.89 and a 9.27. So,
and all they've got behind him is Joel Hofer?
Yeah.
Oof.
So if you look at Binnington's numbers, it's just been a steady decline. Ever since he had his their Stanley Cup run and they won, it's just gone nothing but downhill.
Went to his head. All right. Last one here. The Yodis, who, oh boy, the Salt Lake City Coyotes, maybe? I don't know. We'll see what happens with these guys.
This to me is I'm going to watch to see what Alex Kerfoot does, not in stuck playing left wing with John Tavares and William Nylander. And to see Alex Kerfoot get some power play time. I liked him here in Toronto. I may have been one of the few, but I'll be interested to see what they do with them. They've added Jason Zucker to this team. So that's, Nick Busted's back there. And they've got a couple of young players that I think will be interesting to watch going into this year as well. Logan Cooley, if he plays, as well as also Matthias Maselli to see if he can build off his season last year as well.
I just love that
Zach
Sean
Sanford.
Dursey and Alex Kerfoot are playing together. It's going to be like, there's your storyline, guys. Like, they're obviously going to score together. And Travis Dermott, come on.
And another player that I'm interested to see, he spent a little while with the Marlies, is Curtis Douglas. That's that forward who's 6'9".
Oh yeah.
Like
without.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go finish yours.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, it. As much as I wanted him to succeed with the Leafs, almost strictly just for his size, it'll be interesting to see him get a chance to get full-time NHL minutes.
I was just going to say, without looking, can you guys name the 3 players taking up $21 million of injured reserve space for the Arizona Coyotes?
Oh, injured reserve?
Yeah.
Shea Weber.
Yep.
I can't think of the other two. The only names that keep popping in my head are Datsuk, Hossa, and Pronger, but I think they're all gone.
They're all gone now.
Yeah, I think Datsuk was ended just last year. Voracek?
Yep. Voracek. One more.
I'm drawing a blank.
Brian Little.
Oh, Jesus.
$21.4 million in injured reserve between these 3 guys, just so they can hit the floor. Because even with that, they've still got $5.6 million in cap space and 1, 4, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 draft picks this year. That's fucking crazy. They have
Salt
3
Lake's
seconds
gonna
this
have a
year
lot of
and
prospects.
3 seconds this year and 4 seconds the year after and 3 seconds the year after that. Like, what the hell? Okay, so that's the end of that division. Do we see any change happening here? We didn't talk about the Blackhawks.
As to your point, that was the end of that division.
Yeah. I mean, outside of Bedard, there's nothing to watch there. So I don't see, just because of that, they might be better than the Coyotes, but it's going to be a battle for the bottom between those two again. St. Louis probably still going to be 6th. What do we got? Then Nashville. I don't know. It's that middle ground there, the like Minnesota, Winnipeg, Nashville. I see Winnipeg dropping down, but fuck, I don't see Nashville overtaking them.
Honestly, with regards to playoffs, I see 5 from the Pacific and 3 from the Central.
Yeah, this is a really bad division. It's like Colorado, Dallas, and then Minnesota's like good, and then it just drops off. It's going to be rough. Okay, that's the end of the West. That is the hour mark. Should we maybe do the East in a separate portion, or are you guys down to do another like 45 minutes?
You're the boss, man.
I'm game.
Okay, let's do it. Carolina Hurricanes. They're good. They're really good. They're actually really, really good. And now they've got Michael Bunting. So
and Dmitry
that's just a
Orlov.
pain in the ass. And Freddie Anderson, who's like apparently good again.
Another year in the league for Seth Jarvis. Like there's not a lot of holes on this team.
No, it's like fuck. I'm going down Aho, Teravine, and Kotkaniemi, Bunting, Nietzsche's. Jeez. Yeah, Seth Jarvis and Slavin, Burns, Brady Shea, Pesci, Tony D'Angelo. Like, fuck, this team's going to be annoying to play against. Who is Ryan Suzuki?
I think it's Suzuki's brother.
Well, they've got him on season opening injured reserve. Look at that. And Pyotr Kochetkov unburied. Anyway,
oh my gosh, they've got Robidah's son on their team.
Wait, what?
Justin Robidas.
Holy shit.
The Island returns.
Yeah, look at that. He's on their minor league. The Island returns. It's amazing. Yeah, so I don't know. It's going to be a fucking pain in the ass team to play against. We're going to play them a lot. I don't know. I don't like it.
This will be just the return of former Leafs, right? You'll have guys going at Bunting. Bunting will be trying to get under Marner and Matthews' skin. You have Matthews. It always seems like he tries extra hard to score on Freddie.
Oh yeah.
Like so that'll be the storyline here. They're a really good team. The Hockey News pegged them as the Cup champions to start the season. So let the fun begin.
Another fast, annoying team, the Devils, who've locked up Timo Meier. They got Jack Hughes locked up. They got Jesper Bratt locked up. Nico Heischer's there. Andre Palat, Tyler Toffoli, Eric Holla. Like, it's, oh my God. Pain in the ass team.
Yeah, they're another team that's going to be absolute nightmare to play. I actually...
Akira Schmidt.
I completely respect what they do, too, in terms of how they roll their lines, where they're not heavy top six, kind of rough bottom six. I like that they roll a good solid 4 lines. I watched them play here, and it was just when they played Toronto, and they were on that streak, and it was just relentless hockey. They were just coming in wave after wave after wave, and it's hard to keep up with them.
Their average age in their forwards group is 26 years old. On the defense, 27. Goalies, 25. Like, this has to be one of the youngest teams in the league.
They have Curtis Lazar.
They
Sorry.
There's always
I think he's their oldest player.
He's got to be one of them. I mean, Eric Holla at 32.
Nosek at 31.
32. Oh, here, Brendan Smith, 34, is like the oldest person on the team. That's insane. And they really know how to take advantage of this. Like you said, it's wave after wave because they know these guys have the energy to do it. Fuck, man. Next, the Rangers. Honestly, I think the Rangers are going to take a step back this year. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I could definitely see it. A lot of load on Sorokin over the last couple of years. Because they kind of... Yes, wrong New York team. Sorry.
wrong Russian goalie for the wrong New York team.
They were both Vezina finalists, so come on. But like, it's that thing.
Both with the same initials.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think they're friends too. Like, what's going on with Lafreniere? What's going on with Kakko? You have these high-end picks that, you know, potentially aren't turning out to be what you were hoping they were going to be. With regards to the rebuild, it kind of got fast-tracked because you had people like Panarin and Trouba, sorry, wanting to come to New York. So it's kind of that interesting scenario that, yes, they're good. They got good a lot quicker than I think they thought they were going to. So is this maybe the year that they do take a little bit of a step back? Like, some of their kids are pushing Braden Schneider, young defensive prospect, like Keandre Miller. You know, I keep waiting for him to step it up and be the stud on the back end that he should be. Forward wise, I think we already touched on it with Lafreniere and Kakko. They need more from them. So it'll be interesting, but I kind of agree with you that I think they're going to take a little bit of a step back.
Well, especially when you have Jonathan Quick as your backup now to Shesterkin. Like we've been talking about, they've put too much of a load on him, and if they're going to split it with Quick, I mean, he's been pretty shaky and kind of aging out of his prime. So there's not a ton of option there. And I'm looking, they're still paying Brad Richards. Are you joking? For like a couple more years too. Wild.
I think just quickly with this team, I think it'd be interesting to see, like, they've got Blake Wheeler at $800K. They brought in Eric Gustafson, who should be good on the back end in terms of adding some additional scoring touch. And they didn't really lose much in the offseason. I think Keandre Miller, I think to your point, will take a step. He had 20 points. He followed up with 43 points. I think he's going to be more of a staple on that team. One, I'm hoping, because I have him in a lot of fantasy teams. But I also heard, too, that Lafreniere was very against playing, I think it was right wing, where they saw an opportunity for him, and he's actually opened up now to that idea to try it. So they're going to get him a little higher in the lineup and get him going in a different role. So I think without them really losing anything, yes, I think Quick maybe hinders their performance on the back end, but Shesterkin is still going to play probably 62 games in the season anyways.
Oh, for sure.
So I think, you still got Fox, you got Trouba. Keandre Miller, I think, takes that step. They paid the heavy price for, I believe it was, Lindgren. And then I think, to your point, if Brendan Schneider steps into that bottom six, playing alongside Eric Gustafson, like I think you're looking at a pretty solid team where I don't see them actually stepping back. If anything, just kind of holding pat in the Metro in terms of kind of holding that third spot.
Okay. And Leaf storyline here, other than, Eric Gustafson, but what are we really looking for in the what is it, 4 or 5 games we'll probably play against the Rangers this year?
Jimmy VC.
Well, like, other than X-Leaves, like what? I guess that's it, but
yeah, no, just how they can handle. It's always been a big battle between the Blue Shirts and the Leafs, right? Like, even you go back to the King Hank days, there was always good teams, or always good games, or even if the Leafs were garbage, they were still good games against this team. 2 original 6 teams. They've even some of the kids that we haven't really talked about, like I forgot to mention Brennan Othman, like a Pickering boy. He's a good young player. So just kind of that, how we stack up against the teams that have been some of the best in the East. And also, on a other side note, there's 2 more sons of former NHLers on this team.
No way.
Brian Berard's son, Brett Berard, he's a former Leaf. And then Peter Sikора's kid, Adam Sikora.
Oh, shit.
I'm seeing all these names. Give me
Nepotism.
flashbacks.
There's also Riley Nash buried in there. First brief stint with Toronto. But also in this matchup, right? It's, I think to your point with all those former games, it was, Toronto versus Henrik Lundqvist, and in short time, it's now the Toronto Maple Leafs versus Igor Shesterkin, right? So it's original six matchup. It's going to be that battle. You've got, the two big spotlights in terms of New York versus Toronto. It's going to always be a big show, regardless.
So next, Islanders. So Pierre Engvall, the new favorite of Mr. Lou Lamoriello, getting a massive $3 million deal for, what was it, 7 years? So, I mean, that's fun. Good for him. Happy to see him get paid and become one of the boys that is going to stick around on the Islanders forever. But other than that, I mean, the Islanders, they look... I'm interested to see if Horvat and Barzal can put something together. I mean, they lost Josh Bailey, who was even cut by the Senators. But I don't know. It's a little different looking there. I mean, Lee and Nelson are still kicking, but I don't know. I'm hoping they can get a little more offensive and a little faster because they've been a pretty boring team to watch.
Yeah, they've had a...
Well, not...
Oh, go ahead. I was just going to say, they've had some trouble scoring goals, and it's interesting that obviously they didn't bring back Zach Parise, who scored, I think, 20 for them last year, and also losing Bailey, and really handing out these absurd, Lou handing out these absurd kind of 7-year contracts to the Giraffe, and, if he wants to...
Scott Mayfield.
Yeah, if he wants to pay me 7 years at league min and I'll shave my beard, that's fine. I'll do it, but for him to do that, it just doesn't seem... They're not going to take a step forward in my mind. If anything, they're gonna hurt. They were only 2 points ahead of Pittsburgh last year, and I can't really see any changes that they made to be in a positive line sight.
Yeah, I mean, we played this game a couple months ago. They've got a total of what is this, $46 million locked up until 2030? That's crazy. Like half of their salary cap is already spent.
One thing you can say about a team that Lou builds, which is funny because he didn't do it with the Leafs, is he gets a goalie, locks him up, and then he gets the defense core. Like, realistically, the Islanders, Ryan Pulock and Adam Pelech, great defensive tandem. Both are very good defensemen. Noah Dobson's coming up. He showed last year he can shoulder some of the load. Good, young, promising defenseman. You have Alexander Romanov, who they punked from the Canadiens, who I think can be a very good young defenseman. Scott Mayfield's still there. Sebastian Aho.
The other Sebastian Aho.
Like, the defense core is good. It's always this team. Who is going to score?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, they brought Horvat in. Like, it's got to be Bo Horvat and Matt Barzal finally, being able to score together. Like, this is what he was brought here for. This is what they spent all this on. Like, I don't know why it just doesn't work. I mean, they need somebody else there, but maybe we see them go out and get it. I don't know.
I'm not optimistic that Lou will do that either.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be the person that tries to fix things mid-season usually, so I think this is kind of what we're going to see.
Or he already did it and just hasn't told anyone yet.
Yeah, they're just going to ice a team on opening night. Like, what the fuck is this?
Oh, yeah, they're going to bring Parise back last minute.
Well, there's so many guys that are still sitting without contracts. I mean, fuck, Josh Bailey just got cut by the Sens. He could be back.
Has anybody checked on him? Like, if you get cut by the Senators, like, that's not good.
Nope.
From an emotional state.
Oh, God.
Pittsburgh.
So, I mean, obviously...
They take them to the promised land, and we're all going to be wrong.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing to watch. We've got the average age of 32-year-old forward group here under Dubas. His new core four that are like almost 40 years old. They're all basically his age. And it'll be interesting to see. I don't know. I don't like this team he's put together so far. I don't think a lot of these signings make sense. Erik Karlsson obviously is the biggest crazy question mark here, because who knows if he can continue what he has. I don't know, man. Tristan Jarry and Alex Nedeljkovic, like there's just so many question marks.
Yeah, there's definitely a question mark in net. If Jarry can stay healthy, and Nedeljkovic has had problems with 2 teams now. Can he get back to where kind of he was ahead of time? But it's also funny too, like the bottom 6 for Pittsburgh was horrendous last year, and realistically all that they lost was that horrendous back end, and then added in Riley Smith into that.
Nola
Chari as well, and added Erik Karlsson to the back end. And I don't know, it'll be interesting to see how it works for him. Oh, and Ryan Graves they added to the back end as well, which I didn't hate.
I'm just waiting for the year that, I'm not saying, Crosby and Malkin getting old, but are they still like, it's the fact that they're doubled down on them being the first line. Like they haven't really looked at, maybe moving on in the next couple of years to replace them. Like there's no next wave here. Like I'm just always concerned about Pittsburgh. Like if that's what you're going with, like you really got to trust that these guys are going to keep it together all season and stay healthy, because you don't have much behind them. Like they're very dependent on that top 3.
The only thing with players like those is, like, think back to the early thousands, or right after the lockout, right? You had Sakic, you had Yzerman, you had all these legendary players, Lemieux, that were rolling it down to the end of their career. They were still relied upon heavily. Like they were still producing, not to their all-star, years, but they were still producing. But you have that presence, and you have to kind of still treat it the way you've always treated it. Like, I don't think if you went and told Crosby, no, look, you're going to be second line center now, I don't think he would put up a fuss, because I don't think he's that type of player. But as long as you have them on the team, you have to keep treating them the way they are, because it's not like we're looking at a player that's a fan favorite, but everybody in the league is kind of meh. Like, these are players who are going to be some of the best players we've ever seen play this game.
Agreed completely. They also both have injury histories. And I'm just saying that after them, it drops off. So my point is you're putting a lot of your eggs in a somewhat risky, fragile basket. It could very well work, because this basket has been made of gold for a long time, but I just feel like it's a risky play to keep running this back, but we'll probably find ourselves in a similar position in 10 years too. So
I feel like some of the players on this team is Dubas getting players that he's wanted when he was with the Leafs, but never got a chance to get, like Nedeljkovic, because there was all the rumors when he was leaving Carolina that we were going to go after him, and we never did. But he's got that comfort factor, right? He's got a Nylander on the team, so
yeah.
And Andreas Johnson.
Yes,
and he brought Nola Chari back, his favorite.
So I would say, for me, the biggest storyline here is, don't let Crosby do to us what he's been doing to us since 2005. And
especially not while he plays for Dubas.
I was just going to say, let's try and make Dubas look stupid.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not anything personal against the guy. I did like him as a Leafs GM. I've come on here and said that a lot of times. I do like some of his ideas, but he's not our GM anymore, so let's make him look stupid.
Yeah, nothing would be more fun than putting a new team together and just kicking their ass.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, Washington, kind of the same story, but minus Kyle Dubas. We've got pretty much the same team with Rasmus Sandin, so that'll be fun. I don't think did we play any games against Washington after he went there?
I don't think so.
I think he might have been hurt.
He was hurt when we did. Yeah, I don't think we ever played against him. So that'll be a fun matchup. I was always sad to see him go, but especially with the state of the defense now, it would have been nice. I don't know. What did we end up getting with that first pick, though? Was that Cowan?
I think we got Cowan with the Bruins pick, did we not?
Who did the Rasmus Sandin trade become? Traded from the Maple Leafs. Eric Gustafsson and Easton Cowan. All right.
So did we trade the Boston one then?
It was Boston's pick, but Washington had it.
because they got it for Orlov.
That's why I keep thinking of them. Yeah.
There you go. So we were all right.
I'll take that.
So I think that, I don't know, that seems like it could pay off a lot sooner than we thought it would. That's a plus.
Yeah. Same thing. Aging team. They're still dangerous. You got a couple local Ontario boys like Connor McMichael might try and put on a show when he comes back, because everybody seems to when they come to Toronto if they're a local kid.
Sonny Milano ended up there.
Yeah. Tom Wilson's back and hopefully healthy. Like, I myself, if I'm
Tom Wilson just got a raise too.
Yeah. Basically, playing the Washington, don't let Ovi set a record against you.
Oh, he will.
At this
point. Oh, yeah.
At this point.
I'm opening bet 365. Let me lock that in.
Do you guys know which player is on LTIR for the Washington Capitals right now? Because I didn't know this. Max Pacioretty.
Huh?
He is a Washington Capital.
Did he get hurt right away after they signed him?
I didn't. Signed July 1st, 2023. And what, did he just like never make it to training camp? What the fuck happened? I totally missed that he signed with them. So it was like in the flurry of the opening of free agency, they got Max Pacioretty for $2 million. 7 hours ago, Capitals placed Pacioretty on LTIR. Like, this guy, I feel
he cannot catch a break.
This is awful. He's going to come back and play 6 games and get 12 points and then get hurt again.
Just save him for the playoffs.
I don't think they're making the playoffs.
Hey, maybe. Nah, probably not. The only upside that they will have, so they obviously had 80 points last year, is John Carlson, if he can stay healthy all year. Obviously, they lost Dmitry Orlov and that force on the back end, but Sandin, with his size and stature, does like to throw the body quite a bit. Is going to play up with Carlson from what we've heard. Outside of those two, it really drops off between Nick Jensen, Trevor Van Riemsdyk. Not a lot of, I think, upside there. Tom Wilson being a force back all year might be interesting, and then maybe they can get something out of Backstrom and Kuznetsov to kind of get Ovi across that finish line. But other than that, they're just a worse version of the Penguins at this point.
Pacioretty has 2 torn Achilles and doesn't have an exact timetable for his return, and he has not shown up to training camp.
Dude, just retire.
What did we give him $2 million for? Oh, that is brutal. This poor guy. And like I said, if he does come back, they said it could be like a month or 2 into the season. He'll be great for a couple weeks. Like, I had him in fantasy, and I think he played 28 games and had 38 points or something. Like, it was insane. When he was there, he was fantastic for Carolina. Okay. The Flyers, I really don't want to spend much time on this shitty team. They're like the San Jose of the East. Or like the Anaheim of the East.
Couturier and Atkinson are both supposed to be healthy, so that'll make a little bit of a difference with them.
Ellis is still out, I take it?
They had a full season. Yeah, I don't think you'll ever see him play again. Unless something's changed, but I haven't heard anything.
No, he's not
regarding
playing
him at all.
Apparently,
Ristolainen is also on LTIR.
Cap Friendly has it both on just IR, not LTIR.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the team probably doesn't need to put them on LTIR for the.
Oh, they you know what? They also, it looks like they needed to hit the floor.
Yep.
Cam York could be a good bright spot, young defenseman for them. But aside from that, it's just Tortorella trying to get something out of these kids. Like Owen Tippett looks like he should finally get a good, decent chance. He wasn't getting it in Florida. But you got Tippett, Frost, Noah Cates. Like, there is some good kids there, but they're going to struggle.
So, just financial wise, they are paying Cal Peterson, Kevin Hayes, Tony DeAngelo, Oscar Lindblom, and Ilya Brizgalov to not play for them. That's fucking wild.
They're still paying Briskalov
Until the end of 2027.
Wow.
What is this buyout? It's not on the cap, but like they still owe him money.
Oh, because that would have been one of them compliance buyouts. After the second lockout, they brought it out.
So where is this?
GMs can just not help themselves sometimes.
It's so weird. Buyout history here. Yeah, till 26-27, they owe him $1.6 million a year. The buyout was from is a 14-year buyout. Bought out June 25th, 2013. Oh my God. That's insane. Anyway, nothing exciting there with the Flyers. Just some funny little stats to watch. Columbus. Man, they got to turn something around, bringing in Gaudreau. But I don't know. Adam Fantilli will be fun to watch. Kent Johnson was fun to watch. So another year, that'll be cool. Damon Severson's there?
Yep. They got Severson and Provorov over the summer. So,
yeah.
I've always loved Liam Foudy. The kid is just ridiculously fast. Like, they've got some good young players. But I don't know how well they're going to do.
Pascal Vincent as their head coach. Yeah, it's just they're going to be a mid team, really, unless, like, I don't know, Gaudreau and Laine have a breakout year, but I don't see it happening with Jack Roslovic and Boone Jenner.
I heard that they had Laine taking reps at center as well during the preseason, in between Gaudreau and I want to say it was Jenner.
Well, that's the tough thing is, like, you've got Gaudreau and Laine, but neither of them are a center. So, like, really, your choices, if you don't move one of them to the middle, are Roslovic, Jenner, or Sean Corrali. Like, until Fantilli's ready, I guess that's probably the plan.
Well, I thought I heard it was Fantilli with Texier and was it Benstrom or Chinnikov that was going to be a line? Like, that'd be a good young line.
Yeah, I'm just talking, like, for the future. Obviously, they probably want to have Fantilli move into 1C, but it's like, for now, you're really, your choices are either move, like you said, who is it? Which one? Laine to center?
Yeah, they went Laine to center, Gaudreau to left wing, and they had Marchenko on right.
Oh. Okay. I mean, it probably wouldn't be Marchenko come regular season, but still, it's interesting that, yeah, that would push Roslovic off the center probably. I don't know. That's a strange team. Leafs wise,
Laine versus Matthews.
Yeah, they don't like each other.
Written in the stars.
Yeah, like Dubois is not there anymore, so it's not like you can do that from the bubble.
Yeah. All right, so that is the end of the Metro. What do we think here? Any changes from last year's standings where we had Carolina, New Jersey, Rangers, Islanders, followed by Pittsburgh, Caps, Flyers, and Blue Jackets missing the playoffs?
I don't really think so.
The only change I really had was, I think, Pittsburgh over the Islanders.
Yeah, I mean, having Carlson in there, if that works out, and if the Islanders can't get it together with putting some goals in the back of the net, like they were so tight last year, that could be one that changes. I think even if the Rangers take a step back, I think they're still in that third spot. Maybe Columbus overtakes Philly. Philly comes in last there. And then Columbus might overtake Washington too. We'll see. But I think that all depends on how good of a year Ovi has. But yeah, the top, it's Carolina, New Jersey all the way. I think, which one do we think is coming in first? Carolina? It was 1 point difference last year.
Yeah, I would still go with Carolina. Realistically, the Devils don't go on a 14-game winning streak like they did last year.
That's fair. Okay, so from one crazy season to another, the Boston Bruins, who very sad end to the year, and we gotta love it as Leaf fans. They have no first, no second, and no third round pick this year, and they have No centers
No
either.
centers.
Like, who's going to grab that low-hanging fruit?
What do we got? Charlie Coyle, Morgan Geeky, John Beecher, and Matthew Poitras are listed as their
I think
centers.
Zach is going to play as their center as well.
Oh, Pavel Zacha, who's listed as a center, right wing, and left wing on Cap Friendly. Oh, God.
Okay, they signed JVR, so it's all good.
This team, man, what do we think? They went from having an insane season to really losing some core members. I mean, it's not often that retirements take this much of a hit on a team, but man, that's a big hit to the Bruins. 65, 12, and 5 last year. That's friggin' crazy.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be taking a step back. I think that's written all over the wall. I do still see them as a playoff team. I think I wouldn't be surprised if you actually see some interesting things from Zacha. I think a lot of people are selling low on him, but I think you could actually see some good upside to his game. He had a career high in 57 points last year with Boston. And then still, the lift you're going to get from playing with along those guys of Pastrnak and Marchand, it's you could be looking at it easily him breaking 70 points and maybe stop gapping some of that of what Patrice Bergeron brought to the team.
So do we think Allmark and Swayman can keep it together on the back end? Because really, if everything else holds the same, and like you said, if they can just if Pastrnak and Marchand can lift somebody else into that center position, really it just comes down to, do they repeat this duo from the Stars with their fun hugs?
I think the tandem is still one of the better tandems in the league, but I don't know if you're going to see Allmark getting Vezina numbers. Like, he's always been a good goalie. Even when he was on crappy teams, he had really good underlying numbers. But like, everything aligned perfectly for this team last year. Everything. And if you look at the turnover they've had from the roster that they had in the playoffs last year, like, Orlov's gone, obviously Bergeron's gone, Krejci's gone, Taylor Hall's gone, Foligno's gone, Tyler Bertuzzi's gone.
Holy shit, yeah.
It's been quite a big turnover. They went all out last year. They did bring back fan favorite Milan Lucic. So they're still going to have some danger, like some dangerous players. Obviously, with Marchand getting the C, I think that might even give him a little bit more of a boost, to be honest, as much as I hate the guy.
Can you believe he's 35 already?
No, because he keeps getting better, which
right?
is just asinine. Like, yeah, they're a shell of what they were. They're still going to be dangerous. Like, you can't take them lightly, but they're definitely a shell, and I think they're potentially going to be in tough to make the playoffs.
So I think the thing to watch for with the Leafs against them this year is if Boston trying to figure things out with having new people at center, and Tampa starting off the season without Vasilevsky. I think really what the Leafs have to do is take the wins in the Atlantic Division early and try to make it so that everybody's chasing them. Because really, it's once you have that first spot come Christmas, it's tough to lose it. So if they can get out ahead, not have to worry about playing, either Boston or Tampa in the first round, like, those things matter.
Yep.
Yeah, the one thing with them though, that I will just say is, like, a lot of the players that they did lose a few of them were deadline additions, so they didn't start the year with them, like guys like Bertuzzi and Orlov. So there is, obviously they don't have a first, second, and third this year. I'm not sure the value of this draft class. But, is there potential to move? Obviously they don't have a great prospect pool, but, they still have their first for 2025. They have, and then a first for 2026 in terms of if they need to go out and get those pieces to continue to be competitive. Because as you said, Brad Marchand's 35, and 2 years left on his contract could be the tail end of his career as well. So you could just see the final, we saw the go for Bergeron and Krejci. Can you do that for Marchand as well, just by emptying the tank of kind of picks and adding what you need now.
Yeah, it's a good point because Boston's never been shy to add mid-season or at the deadline. Like they did last year. They're always open to spending to bring in huge pieces, and big players are always open to going there. So they have the advantage of that in negotiations. So,
like without knowing if there's any hardcore injuries going on, wouldn't you think that Bergeron and Krejci would want to give it one more shot? Like, this is the Bruins centennial year.
Yeah, I find it odd that they just went, yeah, no, that was enough of a heartbreak. We're not doing that again. But come on, guys, you didn't have one more in you.
Sounds like a Justin Williams sign prior to the playoffs kind of deal.
Yeah, I mean, didn't Krejci only just come back last year?
Yep.
Yeah. Tampa. Let's talk about Tampa. Obviously, same storyline as like I just said, we got to get wins early against these teams that are starting a little handicapped. Vasilevsky is going to start the season probably 2 months on IR, just had back surgery. I mean, obviously hoping that on a personal level that he gets back to form, but I'm a Leaf fan level, let's take advantage of this while we can and get out ahead.
Yeah, I think you're totally right there. We need to take advantage of these guys kind of down and out with injuries or missing pieces to start, and try to win October, November, and kind of coast the rest of the way.
The other big things here, I mean, like they spent big on Tanner Jeannot and Brandon Hagel, who have been kind of lackluster since they picked them up, but they did re-sign Brandon Hagel to 2032 at $6.5 million. They've still got Nick Paul there till 29. Like they've got some of these guys locked up. Anthony Cirelli's there, Braden Point, but the one that isn't is Steven Stamkos, and he's pissed about it. So, I think a rough start to the season is not good for him wanting to stick around. I'm interested to see what they do about that because they don't seem keen on keeping him at the value that he's thinking he's still at. So that's the thing that I'm looking forward to seeing with the Lightning is just kind of them cracking at the seams and the dynasty falling apart.
and you're starting to see signs of that, right? They've had to chisel away at those cup teams, the teams that were indestructible, and they're not the same. Like as much as Boston is a shell of what they were last year, Tampa's kind of starting to look that way as well. With Vasilevsky down and out, you have Matt Tompkins and Jonas Johansson as your two goalies.
Yeah.
Like I know Vasi was only out for 2 months, I think it said.
Yeah, 2 months.
But still, like the defense core is not what it was. You don't have McDonough anymore. I believe they just placed Bogosian on waivers. They picked up Connor Sheary, so you have him now as well. But it's going to be interesting. They're still going to have the offense. They're still going to play with the structure because, Cooper's one of the best coaches in the league that we've seen in a long, long time. So if they could get, as you said, something out of Jeannot or Hagel that they were expecting when they got them and the price they paid for them, then that would go a long way. But they're on the decline.
I wonder if they look at...
Yeah, but...
Oh, I was just going to add, I wonder if they look at, with the Steven Stamkos situation, obviously you see the way Vegas kind of, we negatively look at it as how they treat players, but at the end of the day, they're trying to win, and is Steven Stamkos, instead of doing right by him from the organization, is it just time for, hey, look, as an organization, we can't, I'm looking at their cap here, and even without signing him, they're only saving $5 million from what they're already paying this year. In their forward group. So it's what money is there really for you? Obviously we're hearing the cap's going to go up, but by how much? And the decor is pretty much going to stay flat in terms of dollars. So it's kind of one of those things. Do you cut ties and try to be competitive like you see Vegas do, or do you keep your captain happy? So that's the business versus personal side, I think, with them there that they're dealing with right now.
Well, and I mean, leadership-wise, you've got Point, Kucherov, Sergachev, Hedman, like guys that have been there for a long time with the same team. Like, I don't think they're going to miss him that much. Like, it seems they're leaning that way. I think you're right, where it's just going to be, you know, again, looking at the money, unless they move on from, who is it, like Nick Paul? Nope, just signed him. Tanner Jeannot? Nope, just spent a bunch on him. Connor Sheary? It's only $2 million. Hagel? Nope, just signed him. Like, where's the money going to come from? Not Hedman. Not like everybody else just re-signed, and they got to him and they went, yeah, there's nothing left. And at 33, unless you're taking like 4.5 million, it doesn't make sense for us. Like, even if the cap goes up 4.5, that's what, 9.5 they would have, and that would all go to Stamkos. Like, they can't do that.
And then are you digging yourselves to the hole where, you know, we just talked about the Metro, two teams, Pittsburgh and Washington, aging cores, and it's like you're kind of keeping these guys around when everybody in the writing on the wall is you should have moved on from them 2-3 years ago when you could have maximized their value and keep the ball going and turn it over to new players, new prospects, and stay young. And it's kind of, they're stuck in that limbo right now.
Yeah, look, at $8.5 million, at 33-year-old Steven Stamkos at the deadline, if you get that retained once to 4.25, retained twice, you get a Steven Stamkos for $2 million at the deadline, like, that's something that teams are going to pay for. And I think he knows that. And, you know, if things are... Look, they got to wait to see how the season plays out. They've got no goaltending to start. But if everybody else can hold it together, then, you know, maybe you move on from Stamkos. And you can... Again, for $2 million, go through two teams. That's an insane addition for anybody in the playoffs. Leafs, please. Panthers.
Talking to Marty.
Hey, the guy already had a Leafs jersey in his hand at one point. We can just give it back to him. Holy shit! Alexander Barkov getting paid $10 million a year. Oh, the Florida Panthers. Him and Kachuk, Reinhart, Bennett, Verhaeghe. Yeah, it's kind of the same core. It's just the defense is holy shit. Gustav Forsling makes $2.6 million, and that is the highest paid defenseman they got right now, with Aaron Ekblad on IR and Brandon Montour on IR.
Yeah, they'll be interesting yet again. A team with injuries to start the year. It looks like Spencer Knight is going to start in the minors.
Yeah.
That's
rough.
That's news to me. So they're going to go with Bobrovsky and Stallers, and it's fun. Lion, who they let go, who's now in Detroit. Bobrovsky, while he was hot in the playoffs, he's been streaky in terms of, is he a $10 million goalie or is he a $3 million goalie? So that'll be very interesting to see how that kind of gets going. And then they got Anthony Stallers as backup. So back to kind of how we were talking about the other teams, Toronto really needs to take advantage of winning these games against these teams and getting out to a hot start and coasting the rest of the way. Because outside of, they're not looking great.
Yeah, I don't think enough attention is being put on how many question marks there are in the Atlantic Division to start this season. Like last year, it was, holy shit, this is going to be just juggernaut teams. And this year it's like goalies hurt, goalies getting sent down, Bobrovsky's starting again. Like there's a lot of change going on. The Bruins are falling apart. The Lightning are making changes. Like people aren't talking about this enough. Like there's so much pressure put on, oh, are Sammy and Wall going to be good enough? It's like, holy shit, the rest of the Atlantic outside of like, I mean, Ottawa and Buffalo are on the up, but everybody else seems to be on the down.
Yeah. And like, when you have the injuries that Florida does to start the season, Montour and Ekblad, those are two huge anchors on the back end for them.
Yeah, so like I was saying, what do you got? Forsling, Mikkola, Ekman Larson? Like, it just falls right off.
So 3 of your top 6 defense from their Stanley Cup final push are gone with Ekblad, Montour, and Gudas. So that's going to be a big blow to them to start the season. As you guys said, can Bobrovsky actually be the Bobrovsky that they paid him to be? Or is he going to be, you know, the guy who's been kind of chilling out in Florida, hanging out on the beach the last couple of years? The forward core is pretty similar. So scoring wise and the whole structure of the team up front, I don't think we're going to see a big change, but the D core is hurting right now.
I mean, with Bobrovsky at $10 million, you basically have to try it every year. Like, you can't afford not to. Does it work? Nope. Fuck it. Okay, we'll try something else. Does it work? Great. Let's try it. Like, it has to be the first choice every time until it doesn't
Even
work.
too right now with
or else
their
they just look like
decor,
idiots.
you've got
Yep.
looking at the top four, so obviously they added in Mike Riley and OEL to the mix, but it's lefty, 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 lefty. They have nobody. Both their top right D obviously are out. It's just they have nobody to fill in. Where you have Dmitry Kulikov and Josh Mahura in terms of the only guys who can play the right side on their opening lineup. It does not look great for them.
Rough. So let's move on to a team that I have been hoping to see turn around for a while, but it seems like this could be the year they do it. The Buffalo Sabres. The Ottawa Senators south of the border.
So
it's always their year and they just miss that much.
I myself am actually pretty high on the Sabres, as much as I hate to say it. What Kevin Adams has done down there, and then like building the team, and then Granato coaching these young guys, like they've got a pretty good team. And I think this is the year they break that streak and they come back into the playoffs. Thompson's proved he's legit. I love Dylan Cousins. Like, that kid just does not stop.
And what about the fact that they have Eric Comrie, Devin Levi, and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen for a combined $3.5 million?
So, as much as I love Levi and Luukkonen, like, UPL is one of the best names that has been bouncing around in the AHL for the longest time. That's really their biggest question mark. Like, Levi showed flashes last year when he came up. Like, the kid's good. He's got nerves of steel. Luukkonen's supposed to have been the next goalie for them for, 3-4 years now? And he just hasn't been able to do it.
He had a rough year last year.
Yeah, back end they stole Yoki Haru from the Blackhawks. Owen Powers,
an $11 million.
Darlene's proving
$11 million stud.
Just signing an 8x11. My God.
I think Owen Power is like thanking him beyond belief right now because his contract's up next year. But they did bring in Eric Johnson as that veteran defense on the back end, Connor Clifton. So the decor is actually not too bad. And then forward-wise, like, they've got all these young kids, and then Okposo seems to have a little bit resurrected his career. Skinner actually seemed half decent. He's not worth the $9 million he's getting, but he's at least serviceable now.
Oh, yeah. I picked Jeff Skinner in fantasy again. I mean, last year he finally turned it around. I doubled down. Alex Tuck, I think that was a great pickup. He was good last year. Kyle Okposo,
the one
still
question mark
rocking the
I
C.
really have with his team is,
good for him.
I'm not all on the Devin Levi hype train. We're talking about a 21-year-old goalie, a 6 foot, let alone goalie. It's hard for me to think that, everyone thinks he's the saving grace. I don't really think it's going to be there. I think it's the NHL. It's going to be tough. I think they're going to have to lean a little bit more heavily on UPL, but with him it being only 24, even himself, like the future's very bright there for the Sabres. I don't see it on the back end. I think to your point where can Wall and Samsonov do it? Meanwhile, people are locking the Sabres in for a playoff spot with this very young and not so great currently goaltending situation in Buffalo. I don't see it at the moment.
See, this is somewhere I saw Hellebuck going. If Winnipeg were to move on from him, I think Buffalo would have been high on that, especially because they've got $8.8 million of cap space. So, like, if a goalie becomes available, they do have the money to take them on. It's just, goalies don't grow on trees. They grow on flowers, though. All right. So now the Sabres north of the border, the Ottawa Senators, basically a similar position. A bunch of young guys that have proven that they can hang, they can score a bunch of points. Some defensemen that have gotten paid for the same, and a couple question marks in net. Like it's pretty much. It's kind of freaky how similar these two teams are. They've been riding the same spot in the standings here, 5th and 6th place. Man, I think Ottawa takes a step this year if goalies stay healthy. Like they lost Cam Talbot and were forced into. Man, they went down a couple goalies last year, didn't they? They went through like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah.
But I mean, they've got Forsberg and Korpisalo. It's not awful. Chikrin, Zub, Brandstrom, Sanderson, Shabbat. Like their defense is really good. I like that. Bringing in Tarasenko.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be, I
Kubalik
think, deep down, at least in their top 9. We'll see if Norris can stay healthy, and see if he's poised for a good season. I think that's a big question mark for them. It's right after, if Stützle is going to play their 1C, the hope is Norris can play, obviously, that 2C. If not, Giroux can slide over. And then Ridley Grieg, in terms of what he can bring in terms of a depth center option or winger, depending on, if they can get Shane Pinto signed. But they are struggling with cap issues. They kind of give me, late 2000 late 2000, like 2009 Leafs, where it's like we're up against the cap every year, but we're not even a playoff team yet. So they kind of give me that energy at this moment.
I didn't realize Josh Norris is out indefinitely. Apparently, on the golf course this summer, a shoulder injury was noticed, and
he was there wearing a non-contact
to play, and he has not been to training camp
for a bit. And then I think he took it off for some practices, and then it went back on again. I don't know if he ended up ever playing in a preseason game.
Well, apparently
Johnny, are you getting your info from MSN again?
No, I'm not actually. It's from, I'm looking, Josh Norris. This is from Ottawa Sun, Daily Face-Off, ESPN, City News,
Ottawa. He wasn't practice with non-contact jerseys, though.
It's all from the last day or two. There you go. Senators confident despite questions around team. Yeah, I mean, the biggest drawback with them has always been staying healthy. For some reason, nobody stays healthy. But again, the defense is awesome. They've got a lot of fast kids. They got to figure out what's going on with Shane Pinto, though.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm not as high on the Senators as I am on the Sabres. Because their goaltending is actually a little better. Their defense is arguably the same. I think it's deeper. Slightly better. Yeah. Forward-wise, I would take, I think, the Sabres over the Sens.
Yeah. Claude Giroux on the first line, I think, is a weird thing, but...
Yeah, not to put anything against Stützle or Tkachuk, but, Thompson's, Cousins, those two right there can kind of equal them out, not to mention Peyton Krebs and all that. So with the Sens, I think they're still a step behind.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with, Batherson's obviously a weird question mark. We don't know what's going on there. Tarasenko, we'll see how he turns things around in Ottawa. I don't know. I've been trying to get into this. I live here in Ottawa, so I want this team to do well. And, all the people that keep chirping me, they're like, oh, looking forward to a real Battle of Ontario now. It's shaping up to be a good matchup, So I'm trying, but I think it's mostly the defensive end that's got me more confident in how they'll do this year. Just a bit more support for these kids up front. Moving on, Detroit Red Wings, who have $5 million of cap space and not
Justin Hall
much
for Norris
else. I mean, Dylan Larkin and Alex DeBrincat and Andrew Kopp. oh my God, I forgot Justin Hall's there with Sherratt, Gostisbehere, Hall, Jake Wallman, Ollie Mata, Jeff Petrie, and Moritz Seider. What a strange defense core.
Moritz Seider's a stud. Like, he is like the second coming of Nicholas Gronwall with how nasty he is. But he's only 22 and he is still offensively talented as well. Like, I think they've got a stud with Seider.
For sure. But you're surrounding him with Jeff Petrie, Ben Sherratt, Shane Gostisbehere, and Justin Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably...
That's weird. I'm sorry. That's really
probably looking
weird.
at like a Sherratt with Moritz Seider to be on your top line, and then probably like Gostisbehere, Hall, and then probably either Olimata with Petrie or Wallman with Petrie.
Yeah, that's a very expensive third pair defense. Like, they're paying all of these guys over $3 million, except Jeff Petrie and Moritz Seider. So, I don't like how this team's constructed. Like, they're lucky that Larkin has taken $8.7 million because, my God, they need the money to fill out the rest of this team.
Well, and, you know, this is the last year with Lucas Raymond under $1 million as well.
Shit, true.
So it's really interesting to see the build of this team compared to what Yzerman did with the Lightning when he was there.
Yeah, like, everyone's expiring except Larkin, DeBrincat, Kopp, Comfer, and that's kind of it. I mean, Sherratt's got a couple more years, but...
Costin and Fabry have next year as well, but...
Yeah. But, I mean, really, you've got, like, David Perron this year, Daniel Sprong, Michael Rasmussen, Christian Fischer, Lucas Raymond, Joseph Valeno, like, all these guys... Seider, like, everyone's expiring at the end of... James Reimer, you only have for this year. Like, they have to make a lot of decisions, and it seems like they have no direction. Which, again, is surprising for a team under Steve Yzerman, but... Okay. Second last, Montreal Canadiens.
They're about as good as their logo, a toilet seat.
I mean...
That's about it.
The things... Yeah, like, the things that I want to watch this year are, did they make a horrible pick with Uri Slafkovsky? Is Arbor Jacki going to be the biggest pain in the ass defenseman for us? And, he didn't even make he's not even on their team here. Is he in the minors?
Arbor Jacki went to the minors?
Yeah, he went to the minors. Damn. Yeah, I don't know what this team's doing.
What are they doing?
Yeah. Yep. Because he's waiver exempt? I don't know.
Jordan Harrison, Justin Barron, and Caden Gooley.
That's wild. And Norlander and Reinbacher. What are they doing? Weird. Yeah, I don't know what this fucking team's doing. Josh Anderson and company. Yeah, I'm not expecting much out of this team. Alex Newhook is an interesting addition. Sean Monahan's there for another year. Like, there's potential, but it just seems like everybody's either too young or from the last iteration of this team, like Brendan Gallagher. Like, Gallagher seems like a holdover from the last team that just there's nothing against him. It's just, it seems like they're keeping him to be nice, but he doesn't fit into what they're trying to do at all.
Yeah, neither does Josh Anderson.
No, and that's really the best way to put it.
Late in the year, like, they're not really serving a purpose. They're not competitive at this point in time. Same with, I guess Jake Evans is kind of on the outside of that as well. Just doesn't really seem to be right.
Like, if you want to rebuild, you got to give these kids the ice time, and it seems like they're just having it eaten up by guys that, Joel Armia and Josh Anderson and Brendan Gallagher and Tanner Pearson. Like I don't understand. David Savard. Like, why are you keeping David Savard at $3.5 million and sending Arbor Jacki down? Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
No.
Like, if you're going to be shit, and just give these guys, like, the time that... It's not even like you're ruining Jack Guy's development. He played with you last year when you were garbage. You've already established like he's going to be here.
Gooley in the lineup in terms of being only, I think he's 19 or 21. So you have a couple other younger guys who could still probably get some reps in the minors before coming up. It just seems odd right now by St. Louis with these lineups.
Yeah, they've got some overage guys on their AHL too. There's like 27, 30-year-old guys. Like it's just, I don't know, the whole construction of this team seems odd. Like I said, I like some of the picks. Obviously, Caulfield and Suzuki are great. Slavkovsky could be something. Gooley and Jack Guy are fun. Like even Michael Matheson is fun to watch, but like I don't know. It's rough because I like, again, when like Montreal and Ottawa are competitive with the Leafs. It just keeps things interesting geographically, being a fan here. And there's so many Canadiens fans that it's more exciting to have something to cheer against. But it's such a down era for the Canadiens.
Yeah, I think a good thing to watch this year is, if Caulfield can stay healthy for the year, can he hit 40 this year? Like I think he could probably easily, but for him staying healthy, he's just entering his new contract as well at 7.85. So
and who do they got in net? Jake Allen, Sam Montembeault, and Caden Primo. Yeah, man.
The one thing to watch there
is just the Ferris wheel if he's healthy.
Yeah, Montembeault played great for Canada at the World Championships this past year. So you do have that, but it's going to be a rough year, I think, for Habs fans.
Another rough year. I mean, they were 31, 45, and 6 last year with a minus 75 goal differential, and like I don't see them getting much better.
They've got 24 cups; they can handle a couple of rough years.
Speaking of a couple of rough years, we have finally made it all the way around the league and landed on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Who have used 11.4 million LTIR to be $94 million of players as we speak. So, what do we think? I mean, what's there to talk about with the Leafs that we haven't already throughout the course of this storyline wise? I mean, there have been some interesting changes as far as like Lafferty going out and Yarncroke not getting a ton of preseason time with injury, and now we've got Cowan, Nyes, Minton, and McCann all on the roster. Like,
I think where
do we start?
At a point seeing right now is something we've probably wanted to see over time is in terms of the team is really held pat in terms of the basis, and we call it the core four, but we held on to Kerfoot for 4 years. We had Hall for 4 years. We've had a lot of these guys, and as the regime changed over, those contracts expired, and it left the door open to bring in some new faces. So obviously adding Bertuzzi, Domi, Klingberg, and Reeves, it's definitely changed up a lot of the makeup of the team in terms of what we had in the reserves for talent. We're bringing in a lot of younger guys. Bobby McMahon's also one of those guys who's currently on the 13-man roster for forwards. So we're going to see some young energy in the bottom six. We're going to see hopefully a bottom six that's going to produce and not just play that stand pat and whatever Keith was able to get out of Dubas was able to get out of the bargain bin. And honestly, it's going to be exciting because it does feel like we've had a facelift while still keeping the core four. So I think it's going to be great this year.
That's a really good point, that we're not watching, the Nick Aube-Kubels and the Zach Aston Reeses and the Jimmy Vesey's or whoever the hell he's found in the bargain bin that offseason to fill out the bottom six. And we actually get to see, I mean, to Dubas's credit, people that he picked in Easton Cowan, Matt Nyes, and Fraser Minton. So
he didn't pick Cowan.
Really? Sorry. He loosened the jar and somebody else opened it. Like, it was all his work that got there. And but you know what I mean.
I'm wondering if is this a sign of maybe how much of a hold Dubas had on the team. Because the fact that, from what outsider's perspective, I'm not an NHL player, but I look at this and I say, hey, Keefe saw enough out of these kids to force Treliving to move Lafferty. Basically said, look, we've got enough here. We don't need him. No offense to Lafferty, but move him. Whereas in the past, is that the kind of thing that Dubas would have been like, no, he's staying. I brought him here. He's staying. The kids can go down for another year.
Yeah, I feel like there was always a hesitation under Dubas to give ice time to any of these prospects. Like, we hear these names over and over. Like, I feel like I've been hearing about some of these guys for like 4 or 5 years now. Like Nick Robertson, we've been hearing about forever. Nyes, like Niemela, like all these guys, these names have been floating around, and then we never get to see them play. And it feels like all of a sudden they're 23 years old, and that's it. They never made it. So I hope that now, right away we're seeing 18, 19-year-olds make the Leafs lineup, and we haven't seen that since. In
fairness to that,
really Matthews and Warner doing it.
Is we traded first round picks to alleviate some bad contracts that we had from former GMs. We, if you look back, so Robertson was the one, couldn't stay healthy. The guy has 82 pro games.
Yeah.
Split over 3 years in both the minors and pro. So it's hard to see him. You've got, unfortunately, with our one first overall pick who passed away. So there wasn't really the chance to get those. The first guy who kind of cracked it or even had the opportunity was Matthew Nyes. Because a lot of the other guys were also European players, so they have to stay over, I think, in Europe. I think that's the rule, right? They can't even come over and play AHL hockey until a certain point, right?
No.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Actually, Europeans have the most flexibility. But with the kids, a lot of times it's better to keep them over there with the closer to their families and the system they're used to. So
that's why, like, obviously you have, Niemela and Hervinen, and a lot of those guys have kind of stayed over, and then, so we haven't really had a chance to see. It's like our first kind of crack at it was actually Nyes, and then Minton last year, showing what he can in both the rookie tournament and then preseason to actually gain a roster spot for opening night, which is insane because it kind of came out of left field. And then Easton Cowan actually still being able to stick with the team at this standpoint.
Yeah, and I guess really, like, Pontus Holmberg was somebody that we drafted that started to crack into the lineup that they tried out. But I mean, I'm looking here at some of these guys, like Alex Steves is 23 already. Keith Petruzzelli's 24. Like, I know goalies are a little different, but I don't know. It just seems like as soon as Dubas was gone, we started taking a look at everything in the system a lot more seriously as potential Leafs lineup instead of just like, how's our prospect pool, because we're probably going to have to trade people for something to make a playoff push. Like, they seem more like assets fair,
because they definitely have
to the team instead
like,
of trade commodities.
I think every year it's like, okay, who are our young prospects that are going to maybe have a chance at it? And then it's like, yeah, we do bring in the Nick Albeka-Bells, the Zach Aston-Reese, and unfortunately with injuries, you see Bobby McMahon and be like, this guy's been playing in our minor system, and this guy's a firecracker every shift. And there's nothing you root more for than him to score a goal. And it's kind of, you have a sense of, I guess, connection with some of the minor guys and kind of follow them through there. And it's nice to see it versus, somebody who just comes out of the field from another team.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like, people could argue that bringing in Jake McCabe at $2 million, it's like, why couldn't we give the $2 million to Sandin? It's like in the past, we've just been looking at people like that. We give them a chance, we get them playing. Great, they're good. Okay, trade deadline, let's move them out for something to make this push. So
completely different style of defenseman, though.
Yeah, McCabe makes you. Is it really?
I was just gonna say McCabe makes you hate playing in our zone.
Sandin likes to. Sorry. Yeah, Sandin likes to try the body, but he doesn't have the physical size to play that style of game.
That's fair, I guess. I'm just saying, like, there's some decisions That
and
now,
you know I loved Sandman. It's not like I'm sitting here talking about Justin Hall.
well, I know, but now that I'm looking at this, and we've got Brody Klingberg McCabe for $11 million total. It's like there was a way to make Sandin work in there instead of, this combo of Klingberg and McCabe. Like, I don't know. It seems like, but again, we've got Cowan now out of it, so it's not a bad thing.
If you're complaining about Jake McCabe at $2 million, you've been reading too much of Steve Simmons' work.
Hey, look, I'm interested to see a season of Jake McCabe because he was very back and forth in my opinion, but we'll see. McCabe and on defense, Leafs, we got a Domi and a McCabe. It's just, my mind's going places.
We've been talking all day about fathers and sons, so like names, right?
Yep. Anyway, I think just to close out the Leafs, there's a ton of new faces, like we've said. We've got a new system under a new GM. Same coach, but things look different. So I think it's going to be exciting. We've kind of outlined how every matchup kind of has at least something interesting. A lot of the Atlantic is going to be a lot more highly contested, I think, for the Leafs, just kind of taking advantage of a lot of slow starts. And then it'll just be the Leafs ahead of the pack. Everybody fighting for 2, 3, 4, I think. I'm hoping.
Would be nice.
What are your picks for the Atlantic here? Like, I've got, just because of, like I said, these slow starts with the other teams, I've got the Leafs first, and then I don't know, between Tampa, Florida, and Boston, I don't know who's going to come out second, third, fourth.
Toronto, then I've got Boston, Tampa, and then I actually have the Senators, then the Panthers, Sabres, Red Wings, Canadians.
Okay. That would mean the Sens go up another,
I think
they could get an extra like 10, 15 points, maybe 10, 12
defense,
points.
They can play defensive structure.
That's believable.
Probably very solid in their top 9. I think they can push for it. I think the Panthers are going to struggle. Bobrovsky's going to be a question mark. They're not going to ride the back of Alex Lyon to get them in there in the first place. And I just think it's the Senators and Panthers are going to be battling for that final spot. And I think the Senators kind of make that little jump.
I think somehow Tampa will still manage to come out second under the Leafs. And then Boston. And then, oh, you know what? Toronto, Tampa, Boston. I think it's still Florida. I don't think Buffalo and the Sens can. I honestly think it's going to be pretty much the same after that as last year. Like, I don't think Buffalo and Ottawa make enough of a push to overtake Florida. What do you think, Justin?
I think Buffalo comes up and knocks Florida out of it.
So we've got one on Ottawa, one on Buffalo, and one on Florida. Okay, I like it.
Yeah. But yeah, aside from that, Toronto, Tampa, Boston, like, as much as I see a drop off from both Tampa and Boston, I don't see it being that drastic that they're not going to be
exactly
up there.
The rest of the division is so meh and still rebuilding, so I don't see them being enough of a disaster to fall beyond second or third. Well, that does it. That's a 2-hour and 20-minute show. Holy shit. Thanks, guys. Anything we want to close off here with
head over and
Chris?
find
Where
me
can
on,
people find you?
We don't call it Twitter anymore. We call it just X.
It's funny. I was reading an article and they referred to it as Twitter because I think most people that aren't
Twitter
on it still know it as Twitter. And if you call it X, they get confused.
But you can find me. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Chris_Hurley10.
Is it? Hell yeah. Justin, will you be reporting from a different place on Wednesday after the game?
No, I will be home. I am home all this week. Next week, I am away on overnights, and then at this point in time, that those are planned to be my last overnights for the rest of this calendar year. I'm
nice.
kind of trying to take a break from the crazy travel this year has been insane.
Oh, I don't blame you. Well, I'm working Wednesday. I should be home during the game though, so we'll still hop on for posty, and it'll be our first regular season post game, and it's Leafs and Habs.
I can't wait for it to be a
garbage time first
Habs
game.
overtime
Love
win.
it.
Just because that's the way it works.
Okay.
Probably.
Yeah.
And hammer the Anderson anytime goal because he always scores against the Leafs.
Yep.
Who's getting the first goal of the Leafs season?
Ooh, I like
think
this.
it was
Who's
weird
getting the
last
first
time.
goal of the Leafs season?
I'm gonna go weird. I'm pretty sure was last year's first goal Mark Giordano. I'm gonna put down Timothy Liljegren first to score. Yeah.
Lily. As much as I really, really want to say Domi, like every ounce of me wants to say Domi, I kind of have a feeling it's going to be Nyes. He was pissed that he got knocked out of the playoffs, and he's just going to come out blazing. Frozen there, Roscoe.
I'm just looking. I was trying to find the stat on who scored the first, but I can only find how many first goals people got. Who did they play their first game against? I want to find this now. Montreal. Here, Leafs. Oh my God, Leafs lost 4-3. You fucker.
Oh, Bunting had first this season.
Michael Bunting. Yeah. And Dennis Mulligan had the second, and then Nylander with the third.
Dennis Mulligan.
So I'm gonna go with Calle Järnkrok. Calle Järnkrok scores the first goal of the season. Because I feel like he's going to find himself in a easier situation to get one in than, Matthews going up against Gallagher and Anderson.
Assisted by Nyes and Minton.
Yeah, I can see that. I'd love to see a really...
Hell yeah. Oh yeah, what do we think, now that we've got some switching up of who's making the opening night roster, what do we think the lines look like? I'm looking here. They got Nyes, Minton, Järnkrok, Camp, Reeves, Cowan, I guess.
I could see that. Then Matthews, Marner, and Dirtbag, and Tavares, Nylander, and Domi.
I think it's going to be McMahon.
I don't know if I like Camp, Reeves, and Cowan.
Because also the fact that
yeah,
I was going to say because they haven't signed Noah Gregor, and it seemed like all signs were pointing to that on his PTO to probably play fourth line.
Yeah, and then Ryan Reeves is the extra. It just seems like we have 5 people for the fourth line now.
I think you start bringing in guys. You try out these Cowan and Fraser for their 9-game stint, send them back to the CHL so they can just absolutely dominate, make Team Canada, and then sign Noah Gregor and probably bring up Nicky Bobby to come play.
Fair enough. All right. I hate to rush out of here, but I got to work in the morning. So thanks, guys, for doing this show. This is fantastic. We'll, if you're listening, you can watch it. And if you're watching, you can listen to it. I'm going to cut this up so it's easier to digest in some other parts. And if you want, you can watch the whole video in 2.5 hours. So thank you so much, guys, for all the support. And let's get ready for the 2023-2024 Leaf season. Yeah, baby.
Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Leafs Late Night, your night of post-game podcast. Available after every game on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Audible, and more.
Nothing at all.
Default.